Warm greetings from the high 10. It's Everyday Shenanigans. Thanks for joining me. Late this morning, I did a live. It ran a bit winded because I had two guests give their commentary alongside my own commentary. Thank you all who joined me, AB and Brittany. I said I wasn't going to do any children's stories, but here I am because this one is intriguing. As I said in that live this morning, this case mirrors Debbie Collier. Although Debbie Collier is an adult, same state, same situation, except we haven't recovered her body as of yet. Hopefully we will not. But it looks grim at this point. We're approaching an entire week of this child missing. It's a very dire story. Hello, darling. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to bring you information that is the latest pertaining to this investigation. I will also give you the percentages of the polls I made pertaining to this case and what you all thought. Feel free to go to my community page to take the various polls pertaining to this case. I just came up with a couple of hypotheses pertaining to the child, and there are other polls on there that you're glad. Feel free to take. And any other breaking news updates, they're also posted to my community page. And there are also stories there that I don't cover on the network, but it's just to give you general information of what's going on in the U.S. Okay, so I want to thank you all. Hello, Pandora's Box. Thank you so much in Pandora's Box. Thank you for the kind sentiment on my channel. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm glad I have been able to aid you these past couple of years. Thank you for being a fan. God bless you. Let's go ahead and get started with this information. Oh, mercy. Here we go, everybody. WSAV3 is the source. This was uploaded 19 hours ago.
With the story we have been following since last Wednesday.
The disappearance of 20-month-old Quinton Simon.
Complained about her 1-year-old son is missing. She woke up, her door was open. But he's unable to open a door since someone came in and took him.
News 3 obtained a recording of the police dispatch call made on that day. Alani Simon told police that she last saw little Quinton in his playpen around 6 that morning. A small army of law enforcement officers have searched the area around the West Chatham County home by air, on horseback, and with the help of drones and dogs. But so far, no sign of the child.
WSAB lead investigative reporter Brett Buffington is back at the Southwest Chatham County home where Quinton was last seen. And we know police were there again today, too. Brett, what can you tell us about that?
Tina, the police were here. The Chatham County investigators who have been on this case since day one, as well as federal agents back at this home. The fire department was also here. More than a dozen people in this backyard working today to try and answer the question, where is Quinton? Today, we were there as investigators used a pump and a fire truck to drain the swimming pool in the backyard of Quinton's grandparents' home. That pool and this home, two of the places we know Chatham County investigators and federal agents are searching again. The WSAV investigative unit was told the 911 call Lelani Simon made at 9:42 last Wednesday morning, and the body camera video of officers searching this home for little Quinton are both part of an ongoing investigation. The county attorney told us we can't have those.
We have to protect the integrity of the investigation, and that's first and foremost.
New today, exclusive new details show that Simon's grandmother, Billy Jo Howell, in fact
let me go back to that again. Hold on one second.
Are searching again. The WSAV investigative unit was told the 911 call Lelani Simon made at 9:42 last Wednesday morning, and the body camera video of officers searching this home for little Quinton are both part of an ongoing investigation. The county attorney told us we can't have those.
We have to protect the integrity of the investigation, and that's first and foremost.
New today, exclusive new details show that Simon's grandmother, Billy Jo Howell, did in fact have legal custody of Quinton and his older brother. We've learned Quinton's mom was ordered to pay child support for the two boys. Court documents show Lelani Simon had been to court and she knew she was going to be ordered to pay. The judge's ruling was signed exactly 1 week before Quinton disappeared. The third page of that court order says this: Leilani Simon would have to start paying child support on November 1st and wouldn't stop until the boys turned 18, married, became emancipated, or died.
Wow, that's deep.
Listen, this case has to be tough on these investigators. I asked the chief about that today. He told me that these investigators under him and these federal agents, they are working 18 to 20-hour days. We talked about the manpower that's here. The police chief here in Chatham County told me that they have pulled FBI agents from across the country, 40 of them, including every agent assigned to the Savannah and Brunswick field offices of the FBI. We are live in Southwest Chatham County this evening. Brett Buffington, WSAV News 3, on your side.
Brett, thank you. WSAV has brought you exclusive content throughout our coverage of this story. To see that and previous reports, go to WSAV.com/toddler search.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. This is information pertaining to little Quinton. WSAV3 is the source. So a pool has been drained. Fire department called in. They have at least 40 FBI agents on the case. Helicopters, drones. K9, from my understanding, dog search. I'm really curious to the dog search. I'd like to know if any scent was picked up pertaining to the child. Is it true what they're saying about the child being in the crib, playpen? The child is not quite 2 years old, 20 months, under 2 years old. So one would ask him or herself, can the child crawl out of the playpen? Can the child open a door? Because we have a lot of savvy toddlers who are able to climb out of playpens, beds, and open doors, unlock doors. So who is the last one to see the child? Is the information that you're getting from this family the truth? Are they involved in the disappearance of baby boy Quinton? You also hear in this commentary that the mother, the bio mother of the child, who doesn't have custody of the child, there is a legal document stating that her mother does have custody of the two children and that she is ordered to pay child support by November 1st, which is less than a month. Could this be the motive for murder? You do know that each person that commits murder had a different reasoning for murder versus the person over here, over there. And it may not be a reason that you would kill a person, a child. But to that person, that's a motive. And we've learned that people have killed over money, disagreements, jealousy, envy, broken relationships, other people being in the lives of their children, all type of various reasons. I thought this was very pivotal information because I told myself, would this crazy ass bat be crazy enough to kill her child because she's got to pay child support? So one person would say, well, wait a minute, Angela, the mother has custody of the other boy, 3-year-old. Why not kill him too? Well, that would be too obvious. So she chose one, perhaps. And this is very diabolical where I'm going. But they always say in order to get to the gist of the story of the killer, find out who the killer is, you got to think like a killer. So I'm going to go in the belly of the beast. Are we talking about a crazy person favoring one child versus the other to knock down child support payments, if indeed she does have viable income? That's number one. Does she have viable income? Was she crazy enough to kill one of her children to avoid paying child support? Because I think that's very interesting. And they always tell you to look at what was going on in the person's life that went missing and the people in the circle. So in this circle, we have theft, damage of property, a mother not doing whatever she needs to do in order to keep custody of her children, parents allegedly not home that are supposed to have custody of the children, children wandering around unattended, mother throwing her children off on a babysitter even when she doesn't have to work, a mother ordered to pay her own mother child support, a mother wanting that same daughter out of her house alongside the boyfriend for various reasons. All that was going on in that house. So what I've always said is that imagine what you don't know. That's just a little bit of tea that's been dropped about these people. A woman doesn't have custody of her children, yet she's living in the same house with the person who has custody of the children. There may be some animosity there. Maybe some favoritism there. Maybe the grandmother favors this little boy more than the other kids. Stay woke. I'll get back at you. I'll kill the favorite grandbaby. I ain't getting ready to pay no child support for him. See, you don't know. But it's interesting that the police have been to this house recently. Child support ordered in less than a month. And out of nowhere, one of those children is missing. You have to admit that is peculiar. Please hit the link if you'd like to give your opinion pertaining to baby Quinton and all this shenanigans going on with his family. And the babysitter. She's looped into this drama as well. I brought you content pertaining to the babysitter this morning. Please go in the queue to watch that said video. It is a bit winded, but if you'd like to just watch her commentary pertaining to what has happened, Miss Billy Joe, who is the grandmother, has stormed in her home, accusing her of stealing the child or selling the child. It's a big mess. And I made that video, as I said, as a cautionary tale that sometimes you can't get involved with people trying to be nice and do favors for them, because now look at how things have turned out. You being nice and keeping somebody's kids has now turned into you being accused of doing something with their children. And I get it. People need babysitters. But hey, how about this? Not this group here. Not this group. See, one thing you have to learn about life is that you don't have to be the savior. Nobody designated you as the savior. And sometimes it's best you don't volunteer to be the savior. And a lot of people don't understand that, because I've seen a lot of people like this. We call them Captain Save-A-Hos. Everywhere you go, they're immersed in stuff. They want to be visible. They want to be the go-to person. But you should know there's a price to pay in getting involved with people. There's a price to pay in getting involved with people you don't know, because now you're immersed in an investigation of a missing child just from being the babysitter. And she probably was trying to do the right thing. I'm not trying to say that she didn't, but what I'm saying is, look what it's cost her now. Then you go on Facebook Live, you're talking. That brings new problems. You are a neighbor of these people who obviously are dysfunctional. Now you got to live across the street, down the street from them. Got to hope that they don't do anything to you. Don't do anything to your house. Don't do anything to your car. Because, hey, this is how I look at it. If you'll kill a kid, you'll do anything. Cowardly. It's a coward's act. But I wouldn't put anything past you. Because once you've taken a life, all bets are off about anything else you would not do. I'm going to go to my channel and I'm going to read back the polls that I posted. Thank you all so much for joining me. And if you need information pertaining to Debbie Collier, the 911 calls have been released, as most of you know. And Atlanta News First is the source, about 10 minutes, 41 seconds. Feel free to go over to my community page to listen to the said 911 calls pertaining to Debbie Collier. All right, everybody, here are the polls I've put up, and I'm going to give you your percentages. Did Simon murder baby Quinton to avoid paying child support to her mom? 64% said yes, 36% said no. Should the remaining children of Miss Simon be removed from her grandmom's custody? Be removed from her and grandmom's custody. 97% of you said yes, 3% of you said no. Should babysitter be charged with child neglect of baby Quinton and accessory to murder if he is deceased for not reporting abuse? 31% said yes, 69% said no. Should grandma be charged with neglect and homicide, even if not involved, due to her allegedly being custodian, and Quinton is found deceased? 93% of you said yes, and 7% of you said no. I think that's very interesting that a lot of you said 93% that the grandmom should be charged for neglect and homicide, even if she didn't kill the baby. Very interesting. Should babysitter deny care of Quinton once she saw that grandmom, continued to send child to her without diapers, milk? 40% of you said yes. 60% of you said no. Should babysitter told authorities about abuse of baby Quinton? 98% of you said yes. 2% of you said no. Did babysitter harm Quinton? Yes was 0%. No, 84%. And I also put in not sure, and you all weighed in at 16%. So most of you don't believe Diana harmed the child, but 16% of you are not sure. Did mom's boyfriend kill baby Quinton? 19% of you said no. 19% of you said yes. And 62% of you said not sure. So therefore, with this poll, you all aren't really sure who killed the baby. And naturally, we wouldn't know because we're not there. We don't know these people. We're just speculating off the information that's been given to us. But I'm going to use deduction because you know I do that very well. Depending on who was in the house on that Wednesday morning, who all had to go to work, that's how you're going to determine who has knowledge of the child, because you got to decide on who's doing the talking, who said what and who saw what, okay? So did that guy actually see the baby in the playpen? Did she actually see her child in the playpen at 6 a.m.? Why wasn't the child at the babysitter's? Let's go there. You usually take the child to her even when you're not working. She's even said she's seen you ducking and dodging on the porch, her driving by, smoking a cigarette, obviously because you know you should be at work, and or you're throwing your kid off on somebody even on the days when you're not working, which to me is very trifling. And I do find it even more trifling that Billy Joe is supposed to be the custodian and she's not even keeping the child herself because she or the husband are away working, is what's been said by many of you. Very strange information. Okay, I'm going to finish off here. I also find it interesting that some of you, 60% of you thought it was okay for her. Only 40% of you thought it was okay for the babysitter to deny care when they were sending the child over without milk and diapers. So 60% of you said no, she should have kept babysitting. Why would you think of that? Why do you think somebody should keep somebody's child and they're bringing the child to them unprepared? I'm curious. Why should this woman be obligated to keep a child or children without formula and diapers? I want you all to think about that. And I think it's kind of sad that I even have to say that, because this is why I have a problem with a lot of people. A lot of you are enablers. That's the reason why we have a missing child right now. It's for this percentage right here. You think this woman should keep children, and the parents are bringing the kids to her unprepared. So basically you're saying the damn babysitter should be providing diapers and milk. Well, how's that her job? See, this is why the world is jacked up, because nobody wants to take responsibility for what they're supposed to be doing. You're throwing the responsibility off on somebody else because they're kind enough to aid you, but it's not a responsibility. This is your child. It's not my child. I'm just doing you a favor to keep your kid. I think that percentage is very interesting. Wow. Goes to show you don't know people. All right. So as I said, you all think 19% of you don't believe the boyfriend killed the kid. 21% of you said yes, and 60% not sure. Does all household members know what happened to baby Quinton? 47% said yes. 21% said no. And 32% of you all said not sure. Did grandma kill baby Quinton? 9% said yes. 59% said no. 32% said not sure. Did mom kill baby Quinton? 59% of you all said yes. 0 of you said no. 41%, you're not sure. So almost 60% of you think she did kill the baby, and not sure is ranging at 41%. Those are my polls pertaining to baby Quinton. Feel free to take the poll because I'd like to see how your opinions will vary as time goes by, as many of you see the poll on my channel. I brought you this information because it's pivotal to the case. Because everything matters up until a person is missing and or found deceased. So we have a family dynamic that is unstructured. And I think everybody really needs to look at the fact that this Billy Joe person is the sole custodian, but allegedly she works away from the house where she would stay away for a while. Why would you take on the responsibility of being the sole custodian when you know you don't even stay at the house to keep the damn kids? So what is the purpose of you having custody of children if indeed your job takes you away from the house? How are you going to watch 2 small children? You're talking about a 3-year-old and a 20-month-old. I have to think about that for a minute. This girl has had her kids back to back. Then she's got an infant girl, allegedly. So 3 kids back to back. None of them can tie their shoes. I want you to think about what I'm saying now. None of her children can go to the bathroom, wipe themselves properly, take a bath without drowning, take a shower, tie their own shoes, put their own clothes on. And the grandmother is responsible for these children, at least the 2 boys. So why not file custody for the little girl, the infant? I want you to think about everything that's been said. 3 children born back to back, living in a house with the mother, a boyfriend, a grandmother, and a grandfather, I believe. But the grandmother, grandparents, they're not even really there. So why do you have custody of these children when you're not there? And I don't think the courts would be pleased to know that the mother was staying there at the house when she lost custody. So let's ask the question, how did she lose custody of those children? What did she do for the state to take away her rights? Does the state know she's been living in that house? I don't think they would condone her in the house because they had to have taken the kids away from her for a reason. So would it make sense to have her living in the damn house if she lost custody? And 9 times out of 10 is for what the fuck we're talking about. Because you don't want to take care of your kids. You don't want to feed them. You don't want to bathe them. You don't want to keep them clean. You don't want to keep diapers on them. So what, you want your kids just boo-boo and pee on themselves? You want to go back to the old days of putting a what? Cloth between their legs? I'm confused. This is ridiculous. All these cases are the same. Different races, different heights, but it's always the same thing. Not feeding the kids, not taking care of the kids, throwing the kids off on anybody, letting the kids stay outside all damn day and night, running around half naked, half dressed, and then want to talk junk when somebody calls them out on neglecting their kids. Billy Joe, you need your ass whooped more than anybody. Because you've allowed your daughter to stay in your house with this boyfriend, tearing up your house. The fact you're trying to evict her, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. You got to take her to court for what? Okay, taking her to court for the child support is one thing. But I'm not taking you to court to put you out of my house. You're going to get your ass out of here. And I'm going to show you how it's going to go kind of like this. I want to pack up your stuff. I'm going to sit it at the curb, not outside my door. We're going to do like they do when you live in apartments and they throw your stuff out. They sit it at the curb. So we're going to sit all your stuff at the curb. We're going to change the locks. We're going to have a security system. And that's the end of the story. That's the end of the story. I've never heard of somebody having to go to a court to draw up papers, to have somebody physically removed from their house. I know it has happened, but I'm saying most parents will just tell their kids, hey, you can no longer stay here. You've got to be out by today, tonight. I want you out now, whatever. I'm not getting ready to go waste no money to file no damn papers in a court to get you out of my house. Because one, you don't legally stay there. Two, I'm taking care of your children allegedly and have legal rights to them. So you don't have any business in my house anyway. There's something wrong with Billy Joe. And nobody can tell me that it ain't. Because the fact that she ran up in his babysitter's house, she's got some not so great things on her criminal background. She also lost custody of her own children. So how many children does Billy Joe have? Why did she lose custody? What all type of issues has Billy Joe had in her youth raising kids? Drugs, stealing, what? Somebody mentioned prostitution. I don't know if that's true or not. But the point is, she ain't been no angel. And possibly, Billy Joe doesn't need kids. And matter of fact, I'm not going to say possibly because, you know, I don't sugarcoat stuff. Billy Joe didn't have no business asking for the rights of the kids because you knew that you really was not going to follow through in keeping the kids. And by law, you are the one responsible for the children. So you are a dodo bird crying and moaning on that fucking newscast, running up in that damn woman's house, that babysitter, when you are the one that's responsible for the kids. And you're not even there to take care of the children. And then you're crying and moaning about what type of daughter you got. The grandfather or whoever this man is, your husband, whomever, he's sitting up there saying, he's mumbling stuff because he knows what's been going on. That's why his head was down during the damn interview with the news. This is bullshit. You all have allowed this girl to do what she wants to do in your house when she didn't have no business staying there. You allowed this mess to go on. And now a whole child is missing. And this is ridiculous. So Billy Joe, you're more responsible than the mother, even if the mother or the boyfriend killed the kid. You're getting ready to go down in smoke right along with them. So you better hope you were not at the house when the child went missing. Let's go there. Number one, was Billy Joe and the grandfather at the house Tuesday night? Were they at the house Wednesday morning? Why did it take the daughter 3 hours or so to report the child missing? Would she have reported the child missing had the babysitter not shown up? This leads me to believe the grandmother was not there. Because why would you not report the child missing if everybody in the house is there and noticing the children are not there? So that means somebody was missing from the phone. This is messed up 20 times over. Thank you for joining me. Once again, another case of child neglect, child abuse. Let's talk about the babysitter. Some of you may think I'm being hard on her, but I have to call a spade a spade. The babysitter plays a pivotal role as well because she saw signs of abuse and didn't say anything. And some of you made a comment on my channel on my community page, well, she did tell the grandmother. Well, that was like talking to the wall. Last I checked, the wall has never answered anybody back. Unless there's some new universe where walls talk back. But in the universe I live in, the walls don't talk. So therefore, you're repeating yourself over and over to somebody who allegedly has custody of the child and has done nothing about the abuse. That means Billy Joe is accessory or a contributor to the abuse because she is the sole provider for the kids. This is where you all are, once again, enabling these people. Oh, well, she told Billy Joel he had bruises. Duh, Billy Joel is the fucking custodian. So what the fuck do I look like telling the grandmother that the baby's got bruises when she's the fucking custodian? You all better wake up out here. Stop making excuses for these people. You're letting your daughter basically take care of a child that she lost custody of. The child is getting beat up, and the babysitter is running to the grandmother saying, well, I just want to let you know that the baby's got bruises on him. Well, did she ever tell the Leilani? I'd like to know that. Diana, this is Angela talking to you. Did you ever tell the damn baby mama? Because she's the one dropping the baby off. Hey, lady, what's wrong with your kid? Why has your kid got bruises on his neck, on his arms? Well, Mandy, let these dodo birds aid these baby killers. Because this is why the world is the way it is. The babysitter is just as wrong. Because the babysitter is not thinking of the day when they would turn on her and they could say she was beating the baby. Who's going to prove it? How are you going to prove it? Those kids are with you from 5:30 till 6 o'clock. That's a long ass time. And that's long enough for somebody to say, hell yeah, you were beating the babies too. That's why she should have never kept those kids. You don't keep kids that you see are being battered. Because you could be implicated as a batterer. Why would that not register in your fucking head? Come on, you guys. Now, let's just stop this bullshit. I'm not going to listen to no more of the crazy nonsense because I'm tired of it. I done got a little heated. I done got warm. Hold on a minute. Thank you for joining me. The babysitter was not considering her own livelihood. That's the point I'm making. And we cannot give her a pass just because she seems like a nice person. You are also, by law, a mandated reporter because you are keeping the children. And the fact that I have to explain this is ridiculous. You can't just take a child in your house day for day and see the signs that the child is being neglected and abused, and you never report it to DHS or the police. Because now we have a worst case scenario, a whole child is missing. So to get up on the news and say, I miss him, I'm heartbroken, blah, 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 it's pointless now. Because the child's gone. And most of us are possibly thinking the worst because we hear these stories all the time. Our mind goes to the macabre, that possibly he was murdered, or there was an accident and the body was discarded. Was she qualified? I don't know, Nubian. I don't know the lady. But that's a very good question too. Was she qualified to keep the child? It's a very good question. Because see, I think a lot of times people don't want to ask the pertinent questions because you want to try to pick somebody out in a group that's nice. Well, I don't think there's too many nice people in the group. I think it's kind of obvious that we're dealing with misfits. Out of control grandmother, out of control daughter, don't know much about the boyfriend, But I'm going to count everybody in the group because they all lived in the same house. And if somebody's wanting you out of their house for damaging their property, stealing, God knows what else, they're probably fussing, fighting, arguing, cussing. That means this is dysfunction. And you're also raising small children in this dysfunction. And I don't think a lot of you understand. You act like you don't understand. This is not a household for children. Children don't need to be in a house where people are arguing and fussing and cussing every day. People pushing each other around, hitting each other. So you don't really know what the fuck was going on in their house. They all could have been beating each other up. How about that? Did y'all ever think about that? Well, Mandy, I can't say if she was qualified, so I can't make that argument. But I'm just saying it's a good question. Was the lady qualified to keep the kids? But one could say, no, she's not, because she did not report the child abuse. Reporting the children abused to Billy Joe was a waste of time because Billy Joe is the actual custodian. Okay? Do I need to do role play here? Knock, knock. Who is it? Oh, Billy Joe. Now, I just want to tell you that I've been noticing the children coming in here bruised up and no milk and no diapers. And I see them running around outside unattended. Oh, wait a minute. I just forgot. You're the damn custodian. Let me try this again. The babysitter is crying about the mother who had no business in the custody of the children. Are you all following the information? So how stupid does the babysitter look going to Billy Joe when Billy Joe is the custodian? I just brought you content where they verify she is the legal custodian of the two children, two boys. So this conversation is null and void because nothing ever got done. Okay? We have a whole baby missing. Police was at their house recently. The mother's ordered child support by November 1st. The mother also went to court, the grandmother, to get her evicted out the house, her and the boyfriend. Don't you all see there's a pattern here? There's a reason for this baby to be dead. And I got a feeling it's because of the child support. Upset, angry, animosity, a whole lot of jacked up feelings all boiled into one with these people. I don't really care about disagreeing with people because I always tell people that's the reason why I don't really like doing the children's stories, because people tend to act like they care about kids, but you want to pick and choose who to give a pass to when it comes to child abuse and neglect. You can't give nobody no pass. You can't say, well, this one's better than this one. Well, this one ain't as bad as this one. So long as you passed the buck and didn't do something, you're no different than the person that made the final blow to the head of the baby. Pushed the baby, drowned the baby, shot the baby, suffocated the baby, molested the baby, raped the baby. You are the same. And a lot of you don't want to accept it. That's your fucking problem. But you cannot walk by children abused and don't say nothing. And then get on TV and say, well, I do care. I gave him the name Monkey. That don't mean nothing. Now the boy gone. And what do you think the little boy might have said to his little self? Since some of you think you know every damn thing. You don't think that little monkey, he didn't have no feelings. He didn't have sense enough to know, well, I'm over here at this lady's house and she treats me mighty, mighty fine. But then when my mommy picks me up and takes me back over there to Hell's Kitchen, I don't like it over there. I like it over here with Miss Diana. But Miss Diana can't save me. Miss Diana didn't save me when she had the opportunity to save me. So some of you need to get off your high horse and think about what the child experienced. Because you're not baby Quinton. You're not out here somewhere, God forbid, discarded like trash and could have been saved. And the fact that somebody has to tell you, a fucking grown-up, to pretend that you're a fucking 2-year-old is bullshit. Why does somebody have to tell you to put the shoe on the other foot and pretend that you're a kid? Pretend that you're an abused baby. Pretend you're a baby going without milk and diapers. Pretend you're a baby running around and hanging in fields and shit, getting dirty and muddy, and nobody's giving you a bath. Nobody's washing your hair. Nobody's telling you they love you. Nobody's spending time with you. Nobody's taking you out to the amusement park, taking you to the zoo, taking you to the circus, spending valuable time with you, showing you that they love you. Why should I, as an adult, a YouTuber, have to tell you to pretend you're a fucking kid? So you get crunk all you want about who's right, who's wrong. They're all wrong because the whole kid is gone. And we're going to keep having these stories until somebody gets off their ass and calls DHS. Calls the police. That woman would sleep good at night had she called a long time ago. Point blank. No more excuses. The YouTube queue is filled with horrible stories. If you were to take a count right now, there wouldn't be enough hours in the day to compute all the stories of missing children, abused children. So I don't want to hear anything about somebody tried. Somebody told Billy Joe what was going on. Billy Joe is the custodian. So Diana was talking to herself and nothing was done. Diana should have bowed out. Do you know how many times I've heard cases of people abusing somebody? I just heard a case a month or so ago. Stupid ass woman telling me her daughter's been accused of abusing this guy's child. Now, mind you, the girl ain't even supposed to be dating the guy because she said she didn't want to date him, right? So how are you being accused of beating up his kid or hurting his kid if you're not even supposed to be around him because you say you don't like him? So how are you in the custody of his child? Because you're still going around that guy and you were alone with his kid. So now the baby mama, whether she's doing it out of spite or not, thinks you hurt her kid. This is exactly what I was telling this certain person. This is all drama. Queen don't do that ghetto shit. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Because you got to learn from your mistakes. You know the guy likes you. You don't really like the guy, so you say, unless you're lying. So if you know you don't really like the guy, you're tired of being around him, you just want to be his friend, you shouldn't have had no business being around his child. To even be accused of hurting his kid. And I was telling myself from the person who was telling me, another dizzy ass person, your whole family is dysfunctional. Every time you call in Queen, you got a story. It's always pertaining to your fucking kids. And they're grown. Not infants, but grown. And every story is about nonsense. One's being bullied. One's being accused of hurting some boy's kid. The oldest one, y'all half-ass speak to, talk to because of money issues, this and that. Just a bunch of bullshit 24 hours a day. And this is what I'm trying to make you understand. This is the reason why I made that video late this morning about a cautionary tale. When you hang with people who have drama, they're going to suck you in one way or the other. That's Diana McCarter. You see, there's no such thing as, oh, I was just trying to help out. Oh, I was just being nice. When you saw the signs that these people were not right, you should have cut her off. That means no contact with baby Quinton and the other kid. Because what you have to tell yourself is, you're not a savior. One, it's not your job. She would have found somebody else to keep her kid. And it would have also been on them to be responsible to do the right thing and say, okay, something ain't right with these children. I got to say something to the mama, grandmama. I would have bowed out. I'm not keeping no battered kids. I'm not calling you every day to talk to you about no battered kids, which are your kids. You're not going to drop your kids off and they don't have change of clothes. They don't have diapers. They don't have formula. What do I look like telling you, well, where's the milk? Where are the diapers? And if you think that's appropriate behavior for a babysitter, then that means there's something wrong with you. Because you can't go to the daycare right now, a licensed daycare, and drop your fucking kids off without no fucking diapers. No formula, and think they just gonna take your kid when they got other babies and toddlers that they take care of. So that means now the daycare is providing what? Formula for the babies? I want you to think about that now. Now, if they do, then that will possibly be in a contract. But if the understanding is that you bring diapers, formula to the daycare, then that's the understanding. Well, this is street folks babysitting. So we already know a person is not getting ready to be buying diapers and formula for your kid. It's not their job. Thank you for joining me. Got me all riled up. That's why I don't like talking about these stories. Because they're the same. The stories are the same. They never change. Thank you all for joining me. Don't be shy down there typing. Hit the link and give your opinion. You only live once. Might as well join us. Dropping the link for those who are bold enough to come up here with the Queen and give their opinion. As I said, don't be shy. We know nothing about the babysitter. Another, she was for reporting, worthless for reporting. Okay, Mandy. Well, you know, a lot of people are going to disagree. A lot of people are going to feel like, well, she's a nice lady. She seems nice. And she was just trying to help these people out. Well, as I've said before, and I don't have to keep saying it, at some point, that's going to go out the window because this is now an investigation into a child who is missing. And even if the child was walking around right now where he could be seen, you're still culpable because you know that the child's being abused and you're not doing anything. You're talking to the same people who are abusing the child. Bingo card. So what's the point in keep repeating the same damn thing over and over to the mother, to the grandmother, when they're the ones abusing the child? Whether you think this one did it, that one did it, it doesn't matter. The point is, you're sending the child back into the lion's den. And you have full knowledge knowing that the child is battered. So if you're battering one, you would batter another one. You'd batter the infant. What the hell what is it that y'all don't understand? This is bullshit.
Can you hear
Miss
me?
Cheryl, where you calling from?
Louisiana.
All right, baby. Run it to me.
Well, I agree with a lot what you said, but when I was young, I took care of a lot of kids like that, and I did call CPS. CPS would call those people and say, we're coming, clean your house, make sure you got a lot of food. And then they'd come. I was only physically at the house for one when they came, and sat there and asked each person sitting there, well, what did you see? What did you see? And I said, well, I want to go talk in another room. So I did. And I told her about the bruises and the bite from the mom biting a kid. And nothing was done. That's the great injustice of America. CPS doesn't always help. They don't want, the last resort is to take the kid out of the house.
Mandy, you can hit the link. It doesn't matter if you're in the UK or not. It still works. You're just using your phone, dear, to hit the link. It doesn't matter if you're in the UK or Switzerland or wherever. The link still works. Oh, go ahead, Cheryl.
Well, that's about it.
Let me ask you this. Question for question. Do you think the babysitter is also liable?
Do I think the babysitter's what?
Do you think she's liable?
That she's guilty of doing it?
Of aiding anything?
No, I don't.
Why not?
I just don't see any guilt there, and I'm pretty good read of people. I'm 56 years old.
Cheryl. Cheryl, come on now. The woman is reporting the child beat up to the same people who have custody of the child. You going to sit here and tell me you don't think she's liable for aiding these people?
Well, yeah, you're right in that area. You are right. But as far as kidnapping him or something, I don't think.
Okay, so you don't think she stole the baby, sold the baby?
No, I don't think anything like that. But yeah, she's guilty. She's guilty as far as not being, not taking care of that kid.
Yeah,
she didn't help that child.
Yeah, she didn't. Yeah. So let's go here. Should she have stopped keeping the child and children?
Yeah, she should have, but that's a hard call because I've been in her shoes many times, and you feel sorry for the kids.
Okay.
And you want to help the kids.
But look where it's got her, though.
Exactly. That's right. And you know what? Every time has never turned out good for me. Thank God the kid never disappeared.
And that's why I made that video. I want to make this clear to everybody in the chat, whether you can understand where I'm coming from or not. I'm not being a hard nose, but what I'm trying to make you understand is that we have this case because the babysitter never called DHS. Somebody has to be the bigger person to call them. It doesn't matter if the result doesn't turn out the way you think it should. They still keep custody. That's between DHS and the parents and God. Long as I know I did the right thing, that's all that matters.
Well, yeah,
but we're going to keep having these cases because nobody wants to call the fucking police and DHS. That's what I'm trying to make people understand.
DHS was involved with Summer and them, and look what happened.
Well, and that's my point is that you don't have control over DHS's decisions, but you do have control over your own decision to call and then walk away. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that because even little Gregory, 15 years ago in California, that poor kid, they beat him to death over time. And that's not the first time that happened.
What I'm saying. And that's what I'm saying is that I'd rather sleep at night knowing I call. So if the child ever comes up missing, dead, hanging on to life, ICU, I can say, hey, I know I called these people on this day. What DHS decide to do about the child, that's on DHS.
Yeah, you're right. That's
on DHS.
Because I've been in both shoes, and I've worked private daycare too through a church. So yeah, you're right. You have to have all your crap the week ahead. Hello, you got to be a week ahead with those diapers, those formula, and everything.
That's what I was saying. I said I don't know if the daycares provide formula and diapers to the infants. How it works. That's why I said I didn't know because I'm not going to claim that. But the point I'm trying to make, let's just say if the daycare says you got to bring the kids diapers, formula, they're not going to take your kid and you're showing up every day with nothing. Come on.
No, they're not. Even if you don't pay when you bring them, you don't drop your kid off.
That's what I'm saying.
And I don't know about any ratios in any other state, but I know babies, Louisiana was 5-1. And some people keep more than 5 babies a day. When I wound up in Tennessee after Katrina, I could not find somebody to babysit my little grandson. He's 17 now, but he was 1.5 then, or like 13 months, right? So I go to pick my little baby up through a friend of a friend in a church, and she's got 5 kids, and they're all sleeping in different beds in different rooms, which I assume my grandbaby would be too. Her and her friend are talking on the couch because I had to work second shift, right? 3 to 11.
Yeah.
And then she's got my little baby in the back room with a water heater. And I didn't say nothing to her. I just grabbed the baby and I just said, well, thank you. And I left. Well, I wouldn't bring him back.
Oh, yeah.
And finally,
Because
my husband,
water heater, that's dangerous. Well, how old was the baby?
he was like 13 months. But I told my husband was like,
Oh, yeah.
they
He got
wouldn't
out
know
of the
why
bed. He could walk around. He could walk around.
my husband was like, what? Why won't you bring the baby back? And I looked at him dead in his eyes. I said, if there's a fire, she'll never get those kids out of there.
Yeah, I understand.
And she wouldn't. And you got to think about those things when you're taking care of children.
And that's my point. And that's my point to babysitting, period. I don't care if it's your family member. I don't care if you go get a license for your own daycare. You have to use common sense when keeping children. If you do not have common sense and you don't have courtesy enough to say, this doesn't look right, you don't need to be in that business. And that's just the bottom line.
That's right. That's right.
You
it's not easy to say no.
Because, I like them. I like the mom. I like the dad. We're going to give them a chance. Kind of like what the grandmother was saying. Oh, I want to wait to see if she turns around. How are you waiting for her to turn around when you're sitting here taking her to court to put her out your house?
Unfortunately, you can't wait on stuff like that. Like that girl,
no, you can't.
I think Hannah was her name. The babysitter beat her to death a few years ago. And the dad worked with her husband, and they rented property from these people. And of course, perfect setup. She's right there to babysit. Over a few week period, she killed the baby. I mean, it's just crazy.
The babysitter did?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think her name was Lindsay, blonde-haired girl. I think, yeah, I saw the story on YouTube. Yes. The little baby's name was Hannah. Okay. So sad.
Well, let's talk about the motive, because that's the title of my video. Information that I played in the live, I can play it again for those coming in. It's that she was ordered to pay child support, and it is to start on November 1st. Do you think this is a motive for murder?
It could be. Absolutely.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm going to be straight up with you. My first husband, my children's father, the dad was deputy state fire marshal. He had ties in with the judges, Carlos Marcella. When it came time for child support, I didn't push any issues. Guess what? He still owes me $47,000. This is how I looked at it. The way I looked at it, when he didn't pay child support, and the one time I took him to court every time he quit working, I looked at it like this. If he gives me the money, it's going to be cursed anyway. So I don't want the damn money. Okay. After Katrina, my second son was 16 years old. And he heard me on the phone with the Indian guy. The Indian guy's going, no, ma'am, you don't understand. He owes you $47,000 because everything got reset, right? And I said, no, I don't want the money. And when I hung up, my son was like, what are you talking about, Mom? I said, look, we're blessed. We got everything we need. I don't need that money that's cursed from him. Okay? And that's how I've always looked at it. And yes, it could definitely be a motive for murder. And that was always in the back of my mind with my own kids. Because you don't know if anybody really loves your kids.
Well, let me answer somebody in the chat, since somebody want to ask me that question. There have been children murdered because the father didn't want to pay child support. They have killed the mother while the baby was in the womb.
That's
because
right.
They didn't want the mother to charge them with child support when the baby was born. How about that?
That's true. Only God knows the heart.
I'm going to play you all information that's just released pertaining to the pool being drained, for those coming in the chat that haven't heard, and all this legal wranglings going on with the family. Thank you for joining me.
Investigators who have been on.
We began with the story we have been following since last Wednesday.
The disappearance of 20-month-old Quinton Simon.
Complained about her 1-year-old son is missing. She woke up, her door was open, and he's unable to open a door. I think someone came in and took him.
News 3 obtained a recording of the police dispatch call made on that day. Alani Simon told police that she last saw little Quinton in his playpen around 6 that morning. A small army of law enforcement officers have searched the area around the West Chatham County home by air, on horseback, and with the help of drones and dogs, but so far, no sign of the child.
WSAV lead investigative reporter Brett Buffington is back at the Southwest Chatham County home where Quinton was last seen. And we know police were there again today, too. Brett, what can you tell us about that?
Tina, the police were here. The Chatham County investigators who have been on this case since day one, as well as federal agents back at this home. The fire department was also here. More than a dozen people in this backyard working today to try and answer the question, where is Quinton? Today, we were there as investigators used a pump and a fire truck to drain the swimming pool in the backyard of Quinton's grandparents' home. That pool and this home, two of the places we know Chatham County investigators and federal agents are searching again. The WSAV investigative unit was told the 911 call Lelani Simon made at 9:42 last Wednesday morning, and the body camera video of officers searching this home for little Quinton are both part of an ongoing investigation. The county attorney told us we can't have those.
We have to protect the integrity of the investigation, and that's first and foremost.
New today, exclusive new details show that Simon's grandmother, Billy Jo Howell, did in fact have legal custody of Quinton and his older brother. We've learned Quinton's mom was ordered to pay child support for the two boys. Court documents show Lelani Simon had been to court, and she knew she was going to be ordered to pay. The judge's ruling was signed exactly 1 week before Quinton disappeared. The third page of that court order says this: Lelani Simon would have to start paying child support on November 1st and wouldn't stop until the boys turned 18, married, became emancipated, or died.
Wow.
Now listen, this case has to be tough on these investigators. I asked the chief about that today. He told me that these investigators under him and these federal agents, they are working 18 to 20-hour days. We talked about the manpower that's here. The police chief here in Chatham County told me that they have pulled FBI agents from across the country, 40 of them, including every agent assigned to the Savannah and Brunswick field offices of the FBI. We are live in Southwest Chatham County this evening. Brett Buffington, WSAV News 3, on your side.
Brett, thank you.
So what do you think about what you just heard?
What do I think?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going more with your lead with the not wanting to pay child support.
Mm-hmm.
But I sit here and I'm thinking while it's playing how much I loved my little babies. And even now that my kids are 33 and 34, of course I still love them. But when they're little, I couldn't get enough of them. You know, I just don't understand how people could hit their children in that. I don't get it.
Well, people do that. That's the thing. They do it all the time. It's got to be a spirit of abuse or something, because I can't figure it out otherwise. Yeah. I don't get it. Let's go back here. Billy Jo lost her kids. I don't know how many children she has, but let's start from the beginning of the story. The beginning of the story starts with Billy Jo as a parent. Billy Jo has lost her children to the state. So who took care of her children? What were the reasons? Did she ever get them back? Now, what was her relationship while raising this child? Is she one of the children that was taken? Do these two even have a real relationship, or she's just helping her out of guilt because she didn't do right by her child? See, you have to start at the beginning of a story, which starts with Billy Jo. See, everything has a start and an end. The start is Billy Jo. Then, and I think we can go back. Who raised Billy Jo? How was she treated for her to grow up and mistreat her kids? Now she has kids, and those kids are mistreating baby Quinton. See where I'm going? Yeah, I do. Generational curse. I'm really thinking that she did it out of guilt. I don't see her being that tight with the daughter. Yeah. Loving relationship. Because of the issues between them and having to get help for the baby, blah blah blah. The list goes on. You know, if they were close when, well, I mean, if that child went in foster care and all, the mother, when Billy Jo, I'm talking her daughter, went in foster care and all, if she was old enough to
to understand, there had to be resentment built up towards
Yes,
her mother.
exactly. So see, we
So
don't
I
even
mean,
know all that.
it can be so many possibilities and so many
Exactly.
twists and turns, just like
Exactly.
Summer. It's just sad.
Because it goes
Just,
on, and a lot of people don't seem to understand. If you have not lived a certain type of life as others, you possibly can't relate. How do we know that this girl didn't resent Billy Joe growing up? Billy Joe is only keeping these kids and took the kids in out of guilt for how she mistreated her. She's possibly one of the
exactly.
children that Billy Joe lost. So this is really an issue of could be just tit for tat.
That's right.
But the fact that Billy Joe is on the road traveling, if these allegations are true, then she wasn't even there to keep the kids. So now you're leaving the kids with somebody who you took the kids from or were placed in your custody. You know the law would not allow that girl to be in that house with those kids, and she lost custody of her kids. Now we got to jump to that. Why did she lose custody? Possibly for the same shit that Diana is on a Facebook Live talking about. No diapers, no food, letting the kids run around.
Well, I think that Billy Joe, considering she did that and she was supposed to be legally responsible, she should be arrested.
She's gonna be arrested because this is where, let me tell you what Billy Joe fucked up. She's contradicting herself. 1 minute you're on TV talking about, oh, I can't believe this happened. Nobody would expect this to happen. Then you're talking bad about your daughter. Then you're busting up in Diana's house. How do you feel about that? Busting up in Diana's house. What the hell?
I think that's another reason for the arrest, but I think the number one arrest should be that she didn't take ownership of the child while she was supposed to.
Because she's going to have to explain that. Yes.
And you know what? She's going to have to live with that the rest of her life too. But we don't know how messed up. We don't know how messed up her brain is from drugs. She might take her years to realize what she did. Hello.
Yeah. So you are now traveling as a welder allegedly. How are you going to explain that to DHS and the law where the hell you've been and you're the legal custodian?
Exactly. That's so sad.
It is sad.
I know one thing. I love my kids, but if I do have I have my son's kid because he got pregnant by, he was 16 and got an 18-year-old pregnant. And no, I never pressed charges. Because there's, I just think that's ridiculous. It's not always statutory rape. But anyway, I was going to say, even still, if I was awarded one of the kids to take, he wouldn't get them back. Hello.
Now, what do you say just now? It's not always statutory rape. What do you mean?
Because, okay, I got my grandson, right? And I got him because they were both messed up on drugs. Now, granted, they've straightened their lives out. But mom, I haven't heard from in over 10 years. God only knows where she is.
So you say he was 18. The girl was 18 when she met your son, 16?
Yes.
Well, by law, that is statutory rape.
Yeah. Yeah,
unless
they're both willing.
Designates it not to be. That's all I'm saying.
They're both willing. Okay, that's how I look at it.
Don't do that, Cheryl. By law, your son is still considered a child. She's 18. She's legal age. She knew better. Even though it's a 2-year difference, it's still the law. He's underage. And in most states, that is statutory rape. That's right. Well, doesn't matter if they're willing. Because some people would argue down about that. You saying that. Now imagine if it was the girl was 16 and the boy was 18. Okay? Right?
I look at that a little different because I know how guys pressure. Say what? I look at that a little different because I know how guys pressure to do that. You know what I mean?
I know, but maybe you're not listening to what I'm saying. You know damn well the law does not care on who said what to who pressured whom was the aggressor. It doesn't matter. It's the law. She knew better than to be sleeping with a 16-year-old. So it doesn't matter if the guy was 18 and the girl was 16 and vice versa, which is your situation. She knew better than to be talking to a 16-year-old kid. It's the law. It doesn't matter that they're willing because that's the excuse that predators use. Well, she wanted the sex, even though I know I was too old. I knew it was against the law, but it doesn't matter. She wanted it. That's what you think about what you're saying now.
No, I understand the point you're making. I think the other way's worse when it's the man having sex with the younger girl.
But you shouldn't think like that. Because let me tell you something. I've talked to many men over the years who had sex with women who were older, and I mean much older than 18. I'm talking about like 29, 36, and they were 17, 16. By law, still,
Yeah,
you can
that's
go
right.
to
They're too
jail
young.
as a 28-year-old woman having sex with a 16-year-old because you know better. And
That's
it
right.
doesn't matter that the boy wanted it, she didn't want it, she wanted it, she pressured him, he pressured her. It's the law.
That's
And
right.
women
You're
get a
right.
slap on the wrist because they're women.
This is the point I wanted to make, though. The point I wanted to make is right now, if I got one of my son's children because there was questionable behavior with the children and I had custody of the children or guardianship or whatever, they would not be seeing those kids without me sitting right there. And I'm definitely not leaving no kids there. You know? So Billy Joe is definitely wrong as far as that goes.
So what are you saying? Where's your son? Where's your son now? The one you're speaking of.
Oh, my two sons, one's in Georgia and one's in Tennessee.
And are they doing well?
Well, they both are now. Well, my younger son, he turned out great. He's been in the military 10 years, Air Force. He's very, very intelligent. But the older one, he turned out with messing with drugs and that.
So that's why you said, that's why you were saying you wouldn't have left the children in his care alone.
Well, this is the point I'm trying to make. Even say, okay, my son in the military has 3 daughters and his wife. If something was going on and for some reason I had to get custody, right? It's never going to happen because she's got enough family out there. But say that happened, right? What I'm saying is, no matter who it is, I'm not going to leave the kids there without me sitting there to watch. And also, I'm not going to leave the kids when I go. The kids are coming with me. Okay. And that's what I'm trying to say with Billy Joe. She was wrong on every level. Well, she should have never left that kid there.
She's a custodian. That's the problem.
Yeah, but I'm just the custodian of this 17-year-old. And guess where he's been for 17 and a half years? Right here under my wing. So, even custodian is the guardianship, whatever you want to say. And that's all I have with this one. Okay, guardianship. The only difference between adoption and guardianship is with adoption, you get a check. In guardianship, you don't. Because I'm on disability from a car.
Well, in California, they still, as with the West boys, those Jacqueline and Giselle, they still get a stipend for adopting the kids out of foster care. It's less money, but
that's different though. That's different. If you become a foster parent.
But I'm just saying, I didn't know if I'm just explaining to people who don't know.
Yeah. If you're coming out of foster care and you're a foster care parent, it's different. You do get the check, and I think you get it for the rest of their life, even if you adopt them. Honestly, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that's what happens. I heard somebody say once you get them that doesn't happen, but I think it does.
Okay. All right. Deb, what do you have?
Hi, Queen.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. So I'm with you on all of it. So grandma has custody. Number one, where's CPS? Why are they not checking in on these kids? Number two, the girl should never have been allowed to live with them. What is that all about? Stupid. Where's CPS and why are they not checking? The babysitter, I can kind of see her point for a minute, because I did do babysitting. I got paid by the state, and if I had extra, I would cover, so to speak. Yeah, I got a little extra. I can feed this kid for the day, let mom and whoever is responsible to know what's going on. Hey, I need formula, I need diapers, whatever.
Let me stop you right there. Just imagine you getting paid by the state as the babysitter and you didn't report the abuse. Think about that for a minute.
I get what you're saying, and I'm saying I might have covered for a minute, but if it was a continual thing, I would have had to say, because...
Deb, slow down. Why would you have covered for a minute? What's a minute? 5 days, 6 months, a year, what?
I'm saying... well, if I'm seeing bruises, I'm gonna have to call somebody right away. But if I have enough formula to cover for the day, yeah, I would do that. Let the parents know what's up. If it's a continual thing, more than 1 or 2 days, yo, I can't babysit for you because you're not taking responsibility for your children. You got to find somebody else.
Okay, so let me ask you this right here. Somebody
Uh-huh.
says they want you to keep their kids and it's an infant. You mean to tell me you would go out of your way and buy formula for the child before the incidents of them coming without the formula?
If it was a question of covering it for, they ran short, I could see that, but no, not for indefinite,
But
no.
what I'm saying is, think about this. When somebody comes and asks you to keep their kid, you would not already have formula.
No.
So what I'm saying is, let's say they hand you a bag. They're already gone out the door. You look at the
And
bag,
you got
there's no
nothing in
formula.
it.
So how are you now getting ready to feed the baby? That's all I'm saying.
I get your point. And if I don't have it, I might go out and buy it that one time.
Okay,
But
so now you're going to get in your car. Slow down. You're going to get in your car. God forbid you have other kids in your house. Load up all your kids to now go buy formula for this infant. See, I want you all to think, because a lot of times you all rush to judgment in a story, but you don't really chop it up. See, I chop up stuff.
And see, and I am chopping it up. And at that moment, there's a child that needs to eat. And that's what I'm thinking
So
of
you're
right
gonna go
now.
to the store and get formula. What if on that day you didn't have no money to buy formula?
Well, now we got a problem. I'm going to have to call the mama and the grandma and say, get your butt here and get your
That's
kids.
why I said to think about everything that they're telling you, because there's always a loophole in the information.
You're right. And that's what I'm saying. When I was in that situation, yeah, I would cover for a second, but I would also be like, hey, this has got to change or I'm going to have to make some phone calls. And we've already talked. I've had and this has changed because I did turn in my own child and his girlfriend for domestic violence and things that was going on in that household, and they never did anything.
Okay.
But my experience was whole different.
Yeah.
But it was a whole lifetime apart, if you might want to say that.
Yeah. Okay, I want to read Ann's comment. This is a great comment because I thought about this last night when I was doing my live. Ann says the grandmother should have had those kids in a certified daycare since she's the one that had custody. Do you all agree with that?
I do agree with that.
Cheryl?
Grandma probably couldn't afford.
Don't do that. Don't do that. She's a welder and traveling for 3 weeks. You know damn well she has money. You can look at that house and the spread, the land. She's got to have money just to pay the mortgage if the house isn't paid for. Come on now, Cheryl.
Okay, now, let me tell you something. Looks can be deceiving.
Well, I'm in the commentary business. I ain't in the fixing business. Don't nobody care. But listen, don't nobody care about that, Cheryl. You took those kids in. So that means DHS had to have certified your income bingo card to be able to keep those kids.
Wait. Why do you say that?
What I say what?
Because they do home visits before they allow you to take the kids.
You damn right. No, you think they're gonna let her keep those kids?
Yes, they do. They do home visits.
Wait a minute. What I'm trying to say is, because she got guardianship doesn't mean she got money for those kids. The only thing you get, you don't get any. Let me explain 2 routes here. Okay, give me a minute. Okay, I know you're exasperated, but just hold on.
Yeah, because you know how I get. You know I get crunk about them kids, and I know the foster care system. I know if they're not giving her money directly, she has to have money for the kids. We've had people come up here and tell you they took in foster care children and they had to pay things out of pocket on their own, just taking in the children.
Let me explain real quick, okay? I can only go with my story, right? And I got guardianship, and believe me, we were not in a position where we could afford to take a kid, but God is faithful, okay, number 1. Number 2, yeah, by the looks of the house and all, Grandma had money, okay? But number 3, I've had a house and lost a house. And when I had my house, you know what my grandma told me? What's the sense of having a house if you're rubbing your belly? And you know what?
And I understand all that of what you're saying, but what I'm trying to make you understand is the obvious. I don't really think I should have to say this. You know damn well the state has programs to help you with daycare. So that doesn't mean anything.
Okay,
Even
now wait a minute.
if the house is 300 square feet.
Okay, now wait a minute. There's two sides to that kinder care, and more than that, actually. Because, okay, this would be one way she got it. And that doesn't mean this happened. Because when I went to try to get kinder care when he was like 8 years old, okay, I tried to go get kinder care, and the lady finally looked at me, sweet black lady. She said, honey, in order for you to get kinder care, you're going to have to go to court and prove them unfit, and that might mean they get him back. And I said, well, it's not worth it for me to lose him and him go back to a bad situation. So I struggled. So, there's a lot of loopholes that we don't necessarily know about.
Listen, all I know is I live in the state of Tennessee. They're going to judge your income. That's all I'm going to say on that. They're going to judge your income in order to get you care for daycare. Now, maybe Billy Joe's income was higher, possibly is, and she wouldn't qualify. All I'm saying is I'm just throwing out possibilities.
And it
doesn't really matter. She has custody. The state had to have deemed her fit to keep the kids. They know this woman is going to have to work, or if she had a job when she took the kids. She had to ask all those things. She had to have something because she's paying. She has a house. She's got to pay lights, water, gas. That money has to come from somewhere. They're going to look at all that. They're going to look at all that.
I understand that. And there's also a lot of loopholes to every answer with that. And that's the problem. That's another problem we have in America with the child care system in America with the state.
Well, first of all, you got to understand. What I'm saying is
the obvious. I don't really care about the loopholes. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I don't really care. You know why? Because Billy Joe didn't have to take the kids in. How about that?
Exactly. She could have let them go
she didn't have to take the kids. If you knew you couldn't afford them, let's just go here. If Billy Joe knew could not afford daycare, she knew she didn't make enough money, it would hurt her finances. She wanted to be selfish. What would be the purpose, Cheryl, to take the children in and you don't want to pay for daycare? Somebody was going to have to take care of the kids. They're babies. So the loophole doesn't even matter.
And that was the biggest problem with child care for my grandson for over the years. That really, truly was.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
So the problem here is, and I'm guilty of the same problem, is for whatever reason, our kids have broken up and went against what we would have taught them. And now we feel that we need to take responsibility for their mistakes. Well, you're not their fixer. You need to let them grow up and take responsibility for their own mistakes. And I'm sorry if that sounds cold-hearted for the child. That's where we're at. That is why we are where we are today. It's because we have made so many excuses for our kids and why they are the way they are.
None of my blood was going into the system. I tell you that. I'll take any kid that's threatened to go there.
That's the problem.
I don't think that's the problem. I really don't. This lady, yeah.
So excuse all the bad behavior that the parents are putting out and just take all the kids yourself.
But you know what?
That's enabling.
But no, you're missing this point.
No, I didn't miss the point.
Drugs. They're messed up on drugs.
Drugs are a choice before they're a problem.
Well, let's go here. Just imagine. Well, let's go here. Just imagine if Leilani didn't have a mother who was fit herself. Something ended up happening. The mother was sick. Let's just say in the beginning, when all this started with her, the mother getting custody. What if indeed there was no Billy Joel to take the mother in? Where would she be now with all these kids and boyfriends? Just think about that.
They'd be in foster care.
Exactly.
No telling what happened if they're getting fooled with or anything else.
But let's weigh now that what you just said. There was no Billy Joel to take in the children, or Billy Joel wasn't in a situation to take the kids or didn't want them, right? One or the other. What is all that versus now a whole body missing? So you see, in the end, it was doomed. That's the point.
Perfectly said.
The situation was doomed from the start. It wouldn't have mattered if there was a Billy Joe. It wouldn't have mattered if Billy Joe never wanted the kids. This situation was doomed. That's why I have said this with Cal City. The boys were doomed from conception. Summerwell, same thing. Doomed from conception. It was going to be a malfunction no matter What?
Well, I grew up like Summer Wells, and praise God, I'm a different case. He saved me, and I didn't raise my kids that way. I was more overprotective and everything else. So you can have a success story, and I'm one of them.
Yeah, but
Okay,
that's not the point I'm making. See, you're missing the point, Cheryl. That's not
I
what it's
know.
saying.
I'm not
I'm not
missing the
saying about
point.
a
I do
success story.
understand.
I
do
know there's
understand.
people with success stories. That's not my point I'm making. My point is that they didn't have a chance. That's why we're talking about them on YouTube. That's why they are a news story, because there was no savior.
Yeah.
There was no savior.
Well, God did send somebody.
Diane
God
could have been the savior, but
That's
she
what I was
chose
going to say.
not.
God sent Diane. Diane was supposed to be the mouthpiece.
Well, she didn't.
missed it.
But she didn't. We got a whole baby, Mr. Cheryl, so we got to stick to what it is. Whether you like her or not, whether you think she's nice or not, the whole fucking baby is gone.
I know, baby.
We can't excuse that.
No, I know. I
don't understand. See, this is what I get pissed off. All these excuses is why he's not here.
I'm not trying to make excuses.
What about him? What about him?
I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm trying to just let you see different points of view. It's not that I agree with
you don't have to agree. Let me tell you something. Y'all know how I rock. You don't have to agree. But I am not going to make excuses because he's a baby and he's gone. All this bullshit that people do to the news, everybody loves running to the news after the fact and telling the story about what she didn't do. Oh, they let him run around. That shit don't mean nothing now.
No, it doesn't. And I agree with you. Okay, I do. And I really think that babysitter thing, I mean, not the child care money might be a big key. You know, and I wonder if they searched the attic under installation and all that. And that sounds grotesque to say that, but I mean, that little body was so small, there's no telling where they put it.
Well,
you know,
I think it's interesting that they're still on the property searching, but that's their job. They want to make sure they touch every place on the property.
I think they already got some stuff on the cameras. I really do. I think they already got some.
I pray that the neighbors had Ring cameras. I really pray that they did.
I do too. I really pray that. I wish everybody would
think. Let me tell y'all something. Everybody knows my personality. Either like me or you don't. I'm a hard nose when it comes to the kids because of why I'm sitting up here talking about this story. And I didn't want to talk about this story for that very reason. Is that every time you talk about children, there's always enablers. That is the reason why the child is gone. That is the reason why we have all these abuse cases. We have all these missing children. We have all these dead children. No, I'm letting it be known for people coming in that don't know my personality. I get tired of the stories because there's always somebody in the story that knew better. That's my point. There's always
I know how you are because I've been on your panel before too, but also I'm not trying to make excuses when I explain what's happening with
but I'm going to tell you something. When people listen at you, depending on their personality, depending on their perception of life, their ideology, because this is the thing I keep telling everybody, the reason why we have difference of opinions is because our ideologies are different. Somebody may think you are making excuses because it goes back to this. Most people will tell you, I can't take the children in. I know people who will tell you, well, I could take in 2, but I couldn't take in 6. You know what I'm saying? Now, you may, on the other hand, would say, well, I take in all the 6, even though I'm struggling. I'm going to struggle with the 6. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But then somebody else will say, hey, I can only take 2. Because I've seen people who had the situation. They couldn't take in all the kids.
I get you, Angie, because let me tell you, I'm very cut and dry. And people think I'm a bitch, but I'm not. I'm just very cut and dry. You know, there's not a lot of gray area for me. And I get it. I do. I get it. And I agree with you. I do. I agree with you.
I just want people to understand that we are never going to stop having these stories until somebody makes a decision to 1, stop having kids. 2, take in kids that you can't take care of or help out. 3, pass the buck and don't speak up because somebody has to be a savior at some point. That's just the bottom line. And I understand a lot of people don't like getting involved. And Miss Diana probably was that type. I love the kids, but I really don't want to go to DHS because 1, I'm their neighbor. I got to live across the street from them. I got to pass them. I don't want problems. But look at the fallout from not calling. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly.
fallout is worse than somebody harassing you, threatening you, because now a whole baby's missing. And then they showed you no respect by running up in your house, accusing you of stealing the kid, and you've been up here keeping their damn kids.
You can, when you call CPS though, you can do it anonymously.
That's what I'm saying. That's what she should have done. She could have. All she had to do was say. She don't have to even say I babysat. She could have
actually
said,
when you call CPS.
I see the children out. They're unclean. They're unkempt. I hear that she doesn't clean the children. They're going without food, shelter. This. Let DHS do the work. Frankly, I've already said don't do DHS no more. Just call the police. See, the police would have found the truth. The police would have walked up to the children, asked them, where do you live? Kids would have said, oh, over there. They would have took them over there, and then the police would have seen everything in the house. So then they would have went in the refrigerator. They would have seen the bedrooms. See where I'm going now?
You got a good point there.
Yeah, don't call DHS anymore.
Yeah, because they don't call the police. That's a good point.
I will say this though, in Michigan, if you call CPS as a babysitter, because if you are receiving, even if it's $1 a day, if you're receiving money, you are considered a mandated reporter, and they do have an express line for that.
I said that.
You don't have to call anonymous.
So long as you're dealing with a child, you are a mandated reporter. You're dealing with a child, whether you're a counselor, a school teacher, a social worker, a babysitter. You know by law, you're seeing something wrong with the child. You need to call authorities. I frankly believe in calling the police, because right now, a lot of children could have been saved had somebody called the police and said, hey, that little girl's out there wandering around. She ain't got no clothes on, or she ain't got no shoes on. The police would have went to the child, found out where the child lived, such as the case down in Florida. That little girl would be alive right now had that stupid ass neighbor called the police. The police would have went to the landlord to say, whose child is this? She would have looked up the records. Oh, that's such and such child. She worked at the Army base. Then they would have went to the Army base. See where I'm going?
Yeah. We actually just had a case real similar to that right here in West Michigan where I live. Huh?
The little girl will be alive today.
This one actually got saved, 13 years old. I guess a neighbor found out or didn't see her for some time and sent the police. The police got CPS involved. CPS made the people take that little girl to the hospital, where she was admitted for severe dehydration, some kidney damage, liver damage. Last I heard, this was maybe a month or two ago, she was in critical but stable. This one was saved, but still, I mean, and here's my thing. I think a lot of these missing kids are killed by their parents and just very cleverly hidden. People just don't go missing out of nowhere. Sorry, I don't believe that.
The thing is that if nobody says anything, hey, I don't see that kid outside playing anymore. Hey, the kid's not coming to school, daycare. All the signs are there. It's just up to the one person to say, I'm going to speak up, because all that's prevalent with the little girl in Florida, Taylor Rose, she could be alive today had somebody said, okay, she's not coming to daycare. The military base knew the little girl wasn't coming back. You all asked the mother, well, she gave an excuse, so you left it alone. I understand that. Oh, she's with my mom. Well, they're not going to go I spy on that because it's none of their business. But the neighbors knew better. You could have called the police and saw the little girl wandering around day for day in the same pajamas. There's no excuse. Then another neighbor offered to babysit the little lady, babysit the baby. Brianna never replied. See, the opportunity was there for months. That girl was starving to death month for month for month for month. You could have called 911 the first time you saw her outside alone. And the mother would have no choice but to make provisions to either give the child up for adoption or go call her family to say, hey, can you keep her? Or more than likely what she probably would have done was moved and done it again. I do believe that's what she would have done. She would have moved because she would have felt like, okay, eyes are on me now. Because I had a problem with a neighbor before. She did the same thing. Her boy child was out running around, getting into stuff. I eventually said something to her directly because I was the type, you already know how I am. I wasn't about to be putting up with that. Running up and down the stairs, doing stuff. I went up to her and said, hey, your child's over here unsupervised and he's getting into stuff. and he's running up
Exactly.
and down the stairs, he could fall and hurt himself. Oh, okay, I didn't know. Next thing we know, months later, poof, she moved to another apartment complex. Well, you already know the same thing is probably going on over there. You see where I'm going? Because why would you move? It's a very nice apartment complex. You weren't threatened with eviction, I don't guess. You see where I'm going with this? So why would you move?
Yeah, exactly.
Why would you move? You moved because you knew where this could lead if somebody keeps complaining. So she up and uprooted and went across town to another apartment complex because somebody told me, oh, she moved over in such and such place. And I thought, what's the difference between that place and this place? They're both really nice places. So what's the difference? They're made the same. Only difference is the layout of the inside of the apartment. You see where I'm going? Because
the only difference is the neighbor that's watching isn't there. That's the difference,
yeah,
right? You.
Guess what? but your ways are the same. You're gonna still let
That's
that same
right.
little kid wander around and be outside getting into stuff and near dark, still outside playing unsupervised for 5-6 hours straight. Somebody's gonna say something over there, and I believe that place is a whole lot stricter than where I was. Somebody definitely was gonna say something because they had strict rules about breezeways, toys being out. They had strict parking rules. Somebody was gonna say something about that kid. So she'd be back in the same situation again. But see, the ideology is let me go right now because I got people watching. They're in my business. No, I'm not in your business. I'm just telling you, your kid is unsupervised and he's getting into stuff over here on our side of the plantation and he don't belong over here.
Exactly.
Because that's how kids get hurt. Running in between
absolutely.
cars, throwing balls and stuff. He's running up and down the stairs. That's dangerous.
Kids don't know better. You got to watch kids, even teenagers. You even got to watch more than toddlers,
Yeah, he was an older kid. He was an older kid. He was probably like 9 or 10. But the point is,
exactly.
the mother wasn't watching him. It'd be easy for him to get into something. And also, he was a perfect setup for a predator. You're all the way in a whole other building. Can't nobody even see him over here. You can't even see where he's at.
That's right.
Hey, I got a bicycle. You want it? Got some video games. You want it? And then he would eagerly go. Oh, sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Get him in there. You never see him again. Never see him again.
Well, going back to the not having the kids, I think that's another big step too. Obama set it up where you could have your tubal for free. You can get any kind of prevention for pregnancy for free. There's clinics all over. They're free. Hello, for the underprivileged. And I don't understand why they just keep popping them out.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that because when I was doing my research today, it hit me. Okay, 20 months, that's under 2 years. I said, Jesus, wait a minute. 3-year-old brother, wait a minute. Then the infant girl, I can't remember how old she is. That's a child back to back.
Oh, wow. I never even thought about that.
That's a child back to back. You're having babies back to back that you're not taking care of. There's rumors that somebody's already on social media talking about how you didn't keep Pampers and diapers and keep your kids clean. So why do you have a 3-year-old, a 20-month-old, and then an infant girl that you don't have custody of the 2 boys?
Chances are she was on the way to losing the girl, the little one, the baby.
There's a reason. There's a reason that boy's gone, and I won't doubt it's because of this child support. That's one mouth less on a document to take care of. And haven't you noticed that the children always go missing when they're being investigated for something or something is legal with a document with child support? DHS is involved. It's always the law and DHS have been involved right before a child goes missing.
Most of the time, you're right. That'd be another thing. I find that
very ironic. She has to pay child support. She just got this in a week before. Or a month or so, however.
And then here's something else y'all didn't think about. She had from whenever she picked that child up until she texted the babysitter. Who's to say that she didn't do something to the kid when she got him home?
Well,
and take him to a whole nother neighborhood and dump him in somebody else's dumpster.
And that's my point, is that you don't know what happened when he got to the house, if they argued, because AB had told me something about one of the words that was used in the article I read was about it was just a fancy word for arguing. The point is, you don't know what was going on with all those people in the house. You don't even know who was in the house at the time when the child got home. You just don't know because they're never going to tell you the truth. That group right there ain't going to never tell it.
Nope. No.
Well, the babysitter holds the key. Who picked up the kid?
Well, but how about this? Who actually sent the text? Because now there's differences of who actually sent the text about the children not coming. One article says it's Leilani, and then Brittany last night said one article said it was the grandmother. So I kept telling myself, where are all these people texting her? This is weird to me.
Well, like I said, the babysitter can tell you who said the kids weren't coming and what she did afterwards.
What I'm saying, sweetheart, is that the article is saying different versions of who sent the text to her.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Because when she speaks and says text was sent, I don't even think I remember her saying in that Facebook Live I played this morning who actually sent the text. I can't remember. I have to replay it.
I believe she said Leilani sent it.
But see, that's where there's a problem. Why would I send you a text? Because I already know the reason, though. I send you a text, and then hours later, I'm going to call you back and say, oh, have you seen my child? See, that was the setup. That's what I said in my live this morning. I believe this is all a setup. Either it was originally set up to set up the babysitter, or they setting her up after the fact. Either one.
Well, thank God she had cameras set up.
But does she?
She said inside and out.
Yeah. But see, I'm wondering about that because, we don't have verification. But that will be the only thing that'll help her not be liable for hurting the child.
Exactly. You're right.
So I hope she does have cameras to show them dropping the child off and picking the child up to show the child left her house that afternoon, evening, and then next morning the child never came to her house. That's why I don't know why they sent no text to her. Because if she has cameras, then you should know she's going to have proof that the child never came back.
That's right. And she kept saying,
go ahead.
Well, I didn't see your show earlier, but I know I watched a little bit of that yesterday evening with the Facebook thing. And I'm like, I can't remember either everything. But she said she's got cameras in and out and everything was given to the FBI. And I think that the FBI and the police are holding a lot to their chest. So I think they already got something. They're looking for.
They're not releasing anything to the reporters about the search of the house. And I understand that, why they wouldn't want to release the search. So let's go there. All this is grainy to me. The grandmother having sole custody, but not actually taking care of the children, allowing her daughter and boyfriend to stay in the house, filing documents to put her out. The daughter's got to pay child support by November 1st. Arguments ensuing. Police been to the house recently. Now they've looped the babysitter into there. Billy Joe going to her house, busted into her house, cursing her out, accusing her of stealing the kid. Billy Joe Diane never calling the authorities, DHS, police to say, hey, I saw bruises on the kid, which really they could have accused her of doing it if somebody else had a call. And they could have easily threw it off her and said, well, she keeps the kid all day. She did it. These are all suspect with this story. And
I think that the babysitter never let anybody know that they were being filmed the whole time. Well,
I don't have to tell you that I got cameras in my house.
Oh, I know that. And I think that's a wonderful thing, because you never know who's going to do what. That's for sure. Because I spent a lot of time in
I would have whooped her ass when she came up in mine. And let me tell you something, Billy Joe wouldn't be going nowhere because she'd be in a wheelchair or ICU when I got done with her.
Well, I'm glad she didn't beat her because that's our first instinct. I know it's
Why
mine.
not? That's your house. That's the law. So long as you are inside my house, I can do whatever I want to you because you had no business coming up in there. I didn't invite you. And so long as she opened that door uninvited, then got in a woman's face, that's a threat. That's the law.
I know it is. But I'm glad she showed her daughter a better way to deal with it.
Yeah, but let me tell you something. the woman was already pushing on the little girl trying to take the phone. She's already showing you she can get violent. Billy Joe. Billy Joe looks like a guy up there. Let's come on, let's keep it straight now. She has a masculine look, standing there talking to the dudes. She's showing you what she made of when she busted up in that lady's house. The fact she was trying to grab the phone from the daughter shows you right there. She don't even mind wrestling with the child. Stay woke. So let me tell you this. If you're aggressive enough to break and enter, try to take a phone from a child, I think you know where I'm getting ready to go with this.
Oh, yeah. I already see where you're going with it.
Then what would you do with a 3-year-old and a 1.5-year-old? Okay. Maybe,
good point.
Maybe Leilani ain't the only problem at that address.
Probably not. You know?
Because it takes a certain type of person to just go bust up in somebody's house, whether they're angry or not.
That's right. I would have never done that.
You know your daughter is a problem. You're legally wrangling with her in the court system at that time. Why would you go bust up in that lady's house when you're sitting up here wrangling with your daughter to put her out because she's stealing out your house and destroying your house, but then you go bust up in this woman's house as if she did something to the kid? That makes no logical sense to me. She was using that woman as a scapegoat. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
She knows her goose is cooked and she's desperate.
Yeah, you are desperate because you know you're the custodian and you're going to have to answer to why that little boy is missing.
Very
you also
true.
have to explain to the state why your daughter is in your house when you have custody. And the state obviously took the kids from her.
Yeah, I don't get that part. I would have never left my grandkids with my son or daughter.
But you got to look at the source, because if she lost her own kids, then she ain't got no morals either.
Right.
Yeah.
So here you are, step. Billy Joe lost her kids for whatever she's done, got criminal background. Her daughter grows up to be a trifling mother, and now a whole baby's missing. Do the math.
Yeah, set up for failure, like somewhere else. You're right.
So that's what I'm saying is that a child can have a chance, but he or she has to be in an environment to thrive. These children are not in an environment to thrive. The person that stepped in to take care of them is not doing her job. They've all passed over to Diana McCarter.
My grandma took care of me. That's right. You're right. Yeah.
You couldn't expect a babysitter to be the role of a role model for these children. That's not her job.
No.
And now they've turned on her.
Oh, well, that's typical. When things go south, they stab each other in the back and all. That's, that's typical. What a mess.
Well, she wants child support, TCE, because legally she has the children. She didn't say put the children out. She says the daughter and the boyfriend she wants out. But the point is, who's going to be taking care of the children while they're out traveling and doing different things? That leaves Diana McCarter, the same one whose house you ran up in. So see Billy Joe's a fool.
I think that CPS will take those kids because they did with the summer well.
That's my next question and video. Will the state take the kids?
They should.
At this point, they should.
They definitely should.
Well, don't you find it strange we have not heard that, and it's almost a week?
Yeah.
Well, look at Summer Wells' case. They didn't take the kids for what, a month or two, maybe longer.
6 weeks. That's a long time.
Yeah, 6 weeks.
And I find that strange because I remember Brian Wong said that to the chief at that time of Cal City. He said, a lot of cases I've covered, they don't take the other children when one goes missing. And the chief said, that's true, but every circumstance is different. And naturally, he couldn't answer why the other remaining 4 were removed out of Jacqueline and Giselle West's custody. He knew why all along because he already said those boys were dead. We're just now finding all that out a year later, which is a travesty.
Well, yeah, because you got everybody boots on the ground trying to find these kids, and we're out thinking
they
that
knew all along. because they had to talk to the children to ask, and the children are the ones who told the story. So Cal City Chief knew all along that the boys were dead, even then, and that to me is baffling.
Oh, that they didn't arrest them right away and stuff.
Yeah,
Is that
because the kids had to be the ones to tell it because they're in the documents giving the claim that they beat the boys. So that means they had to know early on in order to pass the case over to Bakersfield.
I think in that case, they were trying to bolster it by finding the bodies. And when they figured out they weren't going to find the bodies, and they went ahead and did it.
TCE says she wants child support and paid the babysitter $30. Well, TCE, let's look at it like this. Billy Joel wasn't thinking this story out her own self because Diana was helping, even though she didn't do her part by calling the police. But you've burned that bridge now by running up in her house. And 9 times out of 10, Diana was going to be out the picture anyway because the state is probably going to take the children because you're the sole custodian and really you're not even around to take care of the children.
Exactly.
So she's messed herself either way with a whole baby missing. I don't know who got the baby missing. I don't know if they hurt the child and it was an accident and they're just covering up the death. But either way, you're still going to go down for abuse of a corpse and not calling law enforcement to say, hey, the baby fell down the stairs or the baby bumped his head and bled out. Okay, why you didn't call 911?
Exactly. That's right.
Oh my God, I'm out of breath.
I know.
Sick. Oh my God. I'm just so sick of these stories about these kids. Okay, let's go here. Where is his father and what does he have to say? Because I haven't heard that he's spoken about the little boy.
I don't know anything.
We have to touch on everything in this story. Where is Quinton Simon's father? Where does he live? And why hasn't he spoken up to the news about the disappearance of his child? Also, why haven't these people pled to the public to help find the little boy? Bingo card.
Exactly.
How do you all feel
Good
about not
question.
speaking to the public about finding the kid, asking the public for help?
Well, I think it's a big red flag. Guilty.
Yeah.
You know, they know that they're going to be reading body movements and everything else. They're going to be picked apart. So you know, they just said, well, we won't do it. You know,
lie detector tests. Have they administered all lie detector tests to everybody in the house?
So
Good point.
I get tired of seeing it too. The kids disappearing and being beaten to death. You know, I pray for all this law enforcement and all last night. How terrible a thing to have to deal with, to go look for a dead baby
40
for days
40,
and days and
40
days.
officers. It's pretty scary.
No, so sad.
Oh, Ann says in all these cases, a lot of these cases, there's always a door open. Yeah, let's talk about that. We go round and round all day about this subject. The baby can't crawl out of the playpen and the door was open. Well, why would you leave a door open in a house that is not your damn house anyway? Or did she leave the door open for somebody to take the child?
That's the door open. That one always gets me because every one of them, the door was open.
Why would she not just hand the kids over to the?
Well, which door was locked? Which door was unlocked?
Supposedly the front door, but why? You know, in that situation, she could have just gave that child to the real father, hand him over.
Yeah, but
to me, it looks like she
maybe there's a reason the real father isn't part of it.
Let's talk about that because you know this is how deep you can go into the abyss with this case because everything's speculation at this point. If indeed this is about child support, she don't want to pay the due bill. That means you favored knocking off this child over the baby girl and then the older brother. Why?
Yeah.
Why that child? As somebody in the chat wanted to say. What I always say, don't ask why, ask why not. Why not him? She don't need a reason that will be satisfactory to me or to you because it's a diabolical mind.
Yeah.
But why?
Well, my
that
question on that one would be, why wasn't he part of the picture when the kid was being fostered out or taken in by the grandmother? Because he should
But
have
that's
had
what,
first dibs on that kid.
Wait, slow down. I don't understand what you're saying. Say what now?
Okay, from jump, when the baby got taken from the mother, why was he not part of that? Why? Because he should have got first dibs on the kid. Do you
yeah,
want your child? Let's
yeah.
do
Oh,
a
I see
blood
what you're
test to
saying.
make sure.
Exactly. So that means possibly she didn't notify him to tell him that the kids were taken from her. Maybe he was notified, but he wasn't fit. So who is he and what is he about? Does he have a criminal record? Does he have other children? Where does he live? What is the role is he playing? Why isn't he paying child support to Debbie, Joe, or what's her name? Billy Joe? Get you mixed
It's
up.
all good.
But you see where I'm going. See,
Yeah.
you see how deep the rabbit hole can go?
Yeah,
Why are
because
you not asking
if I
for
would
child
have
support
been
from
found
him?
unfit for my children, giving them up to their father was not an option.
So that's a very
Period.
good point you made. Has Billy Joe asked for child support from that father of Quinton? Very good question. Damn good question.
And if that is the point, then they would set an amount based on both of their incomes, and they would both have to pay a
Yes.
portion of it.
Yes. Divide it up. So let's ask that. Billy Joe, have you asked Quinton's father to pay child support? Have you taken him to court? Have you drawn up papers to have him also a participant to pay child support?
Well, she probably
Or
did.
did the
I think
father
it's all
sign
about.
off his rights as the father way back
Exactly.
before the
That's a
kid
good
was
question
born?
too. Very good question. Exactly. Does he have legal rights to baby Quinton? Very good question. That's damn good.
Because back in the day, and some guys still do it. Well, if I'm not legally the father, then I'm
Exactly.
never going to get asked for child support, and I'm free
And
to
you
live
also
my
have to
life.
ask, and you also have to say, okay, hell, have we done a DNA test with that baby daddy?
Exactly. I brought that up a minute ago. We got to do a DNA test to be sure you are the father.
So is he the father? Did they do tests? He's confirmed yes, signed over his rights, or said, I don't care what you do, I'm out of it, ain't taking no kid in. Where's his mama, daddy, family? Were they ever contacted? See, the list goes on and on.
Exactly. But the bottom line is, where were the kids staying and who was responsible? And they are the ones that should be held accountable.
Ooh, Lord, have mercy, Jesus. What have we here? This case is so similar to Debbie Collier. The only difference is one's a child and one's an adult.
Yeah.
The only difference. 2 cases in Georgia. Person missing, person found dead. Allegations that possibly the daughters killed the mother for drugs, Venmo account. Staying in trouble with the law, her and the boyfriend, domestic issues. Very similar.
And let me tell you, when they're messed up on drugs, they'll kill you for 50 cents.
That's my point. That's why I tell people, what one person will do, another one won't. People have been killed for less. Argument over a beer. Who drank the last beer? Who smoked the last crack rock?
That's right. Their minds are messed up, and you can't understand it. You know, it is what it is. But either way, you leave them the hell alone.
See, Billy Joel should have never let the daughter stay in her house. That girl could go get public assistance and get a house or apartment. So let's go there. Why is this Leilani not living on her own? You want me to believe that in that surrounding area, she couldn't apply for public housing or a voucher from a housing development to go get her own place to live, and she could hoop it up all she wants. And 9 times out of 10, one of these kids will possibly be in the same predicament. But nonetheless, why does she not live on her own?
She could, because I'm in low income. I've been in my apartment for 10 years.
Well, I can tell you one thing. If she ever had a drug charge, she would not be eligible for one of them vouchers. Well, it's like that in my state. If you ever got convicted of a drug charge, you don't get a lot of the perks.
I didn't know that.
And by drug charge, I'm not saying people that are inadvertently addicted to whatever painkillers I'm talking street drugs like heroin. You know, if you get caught on a charge like that, selling or You know, if you're in the legal system or have been within the last 10 years, then you are not eligible to get one of them vouchers.
Okay. Let me
And child
address
abuse is
Linda.
one of them.
Linda says to be able to sign your rights over as a father, it has to be another man step forward and take responsibility, or the judge will not allow it. They won't leave it up to the man to sign his rights over. I don't believe that's true.
That's not true.
That's not true. Because many men have signed their rights over to their children when people were legally wrangling over taking the children in. If I come to you and say I want to adopt this child and it's my grandchild, I can come to you because you have a right to petition for the child as well. He can sign his rights over because some people have signed their rights over. Another person stepping up doesn't have anything to do with it. Why would somebody else step up and I'm the legal father?
Basically, here in Michigan, if they have had no contact, and by contact I mean a physical visit, a phone call, email, that whatever, like video chat,
Yeah.
child support is considered contact. If you have had absolutely no contact for 6 months or longer, you can petition the court as the mother and the sole provider of that child. You can petition the court to have him removed as the father, so you don't have to deal with that.
Okay. But I don't believe that. I know people have signed their rights over to their children. So another person doesn't have any reason to step up as a man. Why would another man want to step up? What does that have to do with my rights? If I don't want rights to the child, I can sign my rights over. And usually people sign them over when they are being confronted with the child being brought in under custody of somebody else.
Yeah, usually when the state steps in and says, "Hey, your old lady's on welfare and we need to recoup some of our money, so you got to pay child support."
Yeah. And that's one way for him to get out of paying child support too, bingo card, to give up their rights to the children.
Exactly.
To give up his rights.
Yeah. But unfortunately, it goes back to the money point, because the reason they don't want to give up those kids and they'd rather keep them is for that check. Mm-hmm. Whether it be the extra food stamps, whether it be cash, whatever. That's the whole goal with these people.
That's why I said, I don't know exactly what Billy Joe makes, but my thing is, if she's a welder, she's making a decent amount of money. She probably is not even qualified for food stamps. And naturally, no monies, because she makes enough money. She may not even be qualified for food stamps because it's only 2 boys.
Mm-hmm.
Just depends on her income. That's what determines food stamps and the cash money. Now, she might be qualified for the state medical for the boys. I don't know because I don't know her income exactly.
Well, I know one thing. Before my wreck, I just carried the whole load because I didn't qualify for food stamps and that, and I was still like the working poor, But they've made a wider range now, like since COVID, and they realized how many people.
Did you work? Were you working when you were taking care of the one child?
Oh yeah. I did 5 babies a day in nursery at the Mom's Day out of my church, so they let me bring him for free, and then Katrina came. And we wound up in Tennessee, Dayton, Tennessee. And
Linda, that is not true. You can get public housing if you have a criminal record. See, you all are telling stuff that you don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I didn't say that because I never heard of it.
I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you, sweetheart. I'm talking to somebody in the chat. You can get public housing and get on a voucher if you have a criminal record.
Criminal record, yes. Where I live, drugs are not part of that.
Exactly. It's usually 3 years. I'm speaking for Tennessee. You have to be out the program 3 years. They reevaluate the situation, make sure you have not been in any trouble, got any new charges. I know people who have criminal records with drug charges. They now have public assistance. So just please stop.
Yes, here in Michigan, it's 10.
I don't care that you're on public assistance, but don't come in my chat trying to tell me what every state does, because every state has different rules. There are lots of people who have criminal charges, and they are on a voucher. They get food stamps. They also have custody of their children, because I know somebody right now who is a felon for drug charges, and he actually has custody of his daughter who was turned over to the state.
You know, people don't even have a clue also of how many people in Ohio and all, with all the overdoses, how many kids are winding up in foster care. Hundreds.
We have
I mean,
we have an issue right now with foster care. A black lady just spoke about it yesterday or whatever, day before yesterday. The kids have been sleeping in DHS offices here in Knoxville and Nashville. They don't have enough homes. They've got 600 kids in the Knoxville right now in need of foster care, but they only have 350 available homes. So there's a need. That's the problem.
yeah.
Why this person I know got custody of their daughter. He's a convicted felon, but the child needed a place to stay. He had a place to stay with he and his wife. The wife doesn't have a criminal background. So they waited, and obviously they let him have custody. So that's why I keep trying to tell you, you can't speak. You're speaking on old rules. Things are different now.
Well, a social worker called me to pick my grandson up.
Damn.
It was, the state stepped in and she called me. And that's how I got him. I got him when he was 3 days old, and she wrote, I got a guardianship letter. And what a guardianship letter does is anytime either one of them ever want to come take him, they just got to write a 30-day letter saying in 30 days they're going to get him, right? And then they could come get the kid.
Yeah.
But they never tried to take him anything, so I didn't pursue adoption and all. I didn't see it necessary, which it's still not. Like he's 18 at the end of October, But it's just, I think, Queen, you hit it on all the heads in the beginning. Birth control, the state needs to step it up as far as protection. And yeah, that other key might be just calling the police straight away. That is a great idea.
You're going to have to, because you're going to keep having these same stories. This is what I keep saying. One day it's Cal City, then it's Summer Wells, then it's this little boy here, then it's that little girl down in Florida, Taylor Rose. Don't you all see? It's a pattern. So long as these people see that nobody is saying anything, nobody's calling the police, nobody's calling DHS, they're going to continue to abuse their children. They're going to continue to neglect their children because they see, look at these dodo birds. They're walking around looking at my kid, walking around without no fucking Pampers, milk, snotty nose, hair ain't combed, cooties, lice. They don't say nothing.
I do have to say one thing. The first person I ever called CPS on, they did straighten up after CPS came.
That's
now the other two,
you should be scared as hell as soon as they send you a letter saying we need to talk to you.
Absolutely, they should be terrified, But the other two, that situation didn't change, just sad, just. So anyway, I'm praying for all the law officials and all, that God gives them strength, wisdom, and knowledge of where to find that baby. My thought is too, it could be like Summer Wells, where they took her 30 or 40 minutes away and put her somewhere where the dog's never going to pick up the scent right there. Right.
Ms. Wilson, I'm not about to argue with you. I'm talking about signing your rights over if somebody else is trying to file custody, adoption rights to the child.
They may have took little Quinton a long ways away and put him somewhere. And then if they didn't do good enough wherever they left him, might go back and bury him better. Who knows?
Oh,
I mean, that could be the only explanation for not being able to find these kids. They had to take them somewhere else. In that 15, you can get pretty far in 15 minutes.
You can get a whole lot of somewhere, because everybody knows that when you're riding around, depending on where you live, 15 minutes is enough time to be out in a whole other jurisdiction in town.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We don't know where this baby is.
No.
Well, that's what I said earlier. They had from 5:30 or 6 o'clock the night before.
Well, the boyfriend says he saw the baby. I don't know, man.
See, that's what the determining factor is going to be. The cameras from Diana's house, the cameras to the neighbors, what the cameras show on their Ring cameras and surveillance on their homes, DNA at the house, what the search dogs found, didn't find any scents. That's going to be a determining factor to where this child is. And if the body's hidden well, if indeed the baby's dead. And that's the scary part of the story. If indeed we're now talking about a recovery
Oh
in that
yeah, it's
search.
definitely a recovery as far as I'm concerned.
So we're gonna ask. Okay, so Cheryl believes this is a recovery. Deb, what do you believe this is?
I believe at this point it's a recovery. Because
Okay,
look, all these kids were reported as missing kids, possibly wandered off in the woods somewhere.
that was also
So they're
said
not
initially
looking they're
about the
not
baby.
looking for a body at that point. They're trying to find a live child.
Yes,
They're
at
not
that point
thinking
originally.
nefarious.
Well, that's what was said about Quentin in the beginning. I did see that last night when I was reading that initially that's what said that perhaps he wandered off. The door was unlocked. If you're to believe the mother's version, if you also want to believe the boyfriend's version of seeing the child, but let's go here. It has been said by the babysitter that the children would be with her even if the mother didn't have to work. Okay, so I find it strange that the boyfriend is seeing the child at 6 o'clock. Then why are you not wondering why Miss Diana doesn't have the child? Thank you. Thank you, Mandy.
Bingo. Unless he
And
already knew the child wasn't going to be around.
Because they did know.
that wandering off thing, I know my kids wanted to be right there at my feet. Not many children want to go very far from the people. They want to be around the people, their loved ones typically. They may wander a little bit, like 10, 15 feet if you let them, but most of the time they turn around looking for you again, So I don't know about the wandering off thing.
Yeah. Well, there are some cases of a child had wandered far off, like out into the woods, and took cover. I think that was a recent story. So it is possible.
But we don't know for sure till
we don't know.
Maybe somebody took them halfway there and just left.
Well, we don't know anything because, first of all, this story is banking on somebody's version. And as I tell people all the time, every story is based on a version. It's up to you to decide if you believe the version that's been given to you. So everything's about seeing a child in a playpen at 6 a.m. Where I have the question is, why was the child not at the daycare? Why are you sending text messages, the baby's not coming? Then hours later, you're asking that same person, have you seen the child? Why would I see your child? You just told me the baby wasn't coming. So why would I be looking for your child? And you just told me the child isn't coming.
I don't see any child getting out of a playpen unless they're like 4. Because
to cover the story of the kid walked out the door.
Yeah, I know that. That's why I said they're looping the babysitter in at the very end. The baby's already been gone and possibly dumped. So now let's set it up to call the babysitter and say the kid ain't coming. Let's now wait a couple of hours to say, hey, have you seen the baby? I don't know when she was going to call to report the child missing, but the babysitter says when she got there to the house, she had not yet called officials to say that the child was missing. She only called afterwards, but then somebody in the chat comes in and says something about the trash, that maybe she was waiting for the trash to be dumped and then call 911. This is diabolical if that is true.
That's a good point too.
But who would stupidly put their fucking baby in a damn trash at their own trash can?
That's what I'm saying. From 5:30 or 6 o'clock the night before, anything could have happened. They could have went anywhere and not be seen.
Oh my God. Can you imagine a stupid person burying their child in their own trash can and waiting for the trash pickup to pick them up?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe that's that little clue. Maybe that little tidbit was meant to throw people off.
What you mean?
Okay, they said that she waited 3 hours because they thought she was waiting for the trash. Maybe that is one little tidbit to throw them off.
I don't know where that came from. See, I don't know where that came from though. I don't, damn well that girl wouldn't tell nobody that she waited for the trash, because that means she'd be implicating herself. That's somebody's speculation.
Right. And if they are looking in trash dumps, which could very well be a possibility, each truck goes to a different area. Maybe they're searching the wrong area because he wasn't dumped in their area.
What was that thing?
Wait, slow down. What do you mean dumped? I'm confused with what you're saying.
Okay, so here's how I know how it works in Michigan. So I don't know if you get city trash or if you pay for your little dumpster thing that you put outside. Every
well, they live in a house. They live in a house. So their trash, they got to pay for the trash pickup. When you live in a house, you got to pay for trash.
Okay, so they get the little dumpster you put in the driveway on like Tuesday morning or Wednesday morning or whatever day the trash comes. Most of them come early in the morning. You don't normally know they've been there. That's been my experience when I paid for them. They were there between 5:30 and 6 o'clock in the morning, and they get their routes done by 8 or 9 o'clock.
Okay.
But depending on when you like, if you go to, once they're full, they have to dump it in the dump, and we have 2 of them in my area. So, and I've had to go there many times. So each truck, when they come in, they get weighed and they're told where to go dump the trash. So say the trash comes in their area, they're going to follow that trash truck to see if the child is in that pile.
Each truck is assigned an area where they dump. We've learned this from dealing with Camille McKinney. So they know what area to look in, a part of the landfill, because each dump truck is assigned a certain area after they leave your house or apartment where they go to dump the trash. You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So they know where to go look in the landfill, but they have to get there at a certain time before it's redumped and more dumping and more dumping, and then possibly dumping somewhere else. So they would have to go to the landfill like Johnny on the spot as soon as they realized the little boy was missing.
Right.
Because you got other people dumping trash too. Other trucks dumping trash.
Right. Who's to say they didn't go in another area where that truck would not be dumped in the same place?
What? So you mean take the little boy and dump him personally? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, put him in another area.
That's why I said you'd be stupid to put him in your own trash can and wait for the dumpster people to come and pick him up. That's stupid. 9 times out of 10, they took the little boy in something else and dumped him somewhere.
Right. So if they're following trash trucks and they're thinking that area or the truck that did that area, they may be looking in the wrong dump pile. That's all I'm saying.
That's oh Lord.
What was that thing in their front yard? I saw a little clip last night. It's like a sewer. It had a little.
They were going to the drainage pipes just to make sure. I guess he didn't fall down in the drain.
Oh, that's a big drain in their front yard.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, all we can do is pray, and it's really sad. I don't know. America it's going down so much. America.
Well, it's obviously we have a lot of sick people who do not know how to deal with life's problems. They do not know how to handle adversity. They do not know how to cope well. They don't know how to just contain themselves under stress. A lot of us don't. That's nothing to be ashamed of. But when it comes to the point that you cross over to hurting and harming people and killing people because you can't handle stress, that's an entirely different situation.
Yeah, you need help then.
Don't kill a baby because you're mad at yourself, or you can't take care of the child, or you don't have the finances, or you see you having a mental break, or you're mad at the baby daddy, the husband, the wife. You're having legal troubles going into courts. The state's trying to take your kid, or your mom and daddy's trying to take your kid, or they already have the kid and you want to exact revenge. You need help. You need to go see a therapist.
Yeah.
One thing I did learn, Queen, is, and I'm going to put this out there. A lot of what you're seeing is that the result of people doing drugs early, because it was explained to me by a psychiatrist that whatever age you start doing whatever, whether it's drugs, alcohol, whatever, your brain actually stops maturing and it stays stuck at that age. And until you get clean and you give your brain a chance to heal and catch up to you, you keep thinking in that, lower level brain set
of dysfunction.
Exactly.
But see, that's the whole point of doing wrong. You see, doing wrong starts to you innocently. You tried the drug. You like the drug. Now you need the drug. But you also got to be able to sustain the habit. So within sustaining the habit means you're either going to have to work to get high, or you're going to have to rob and steal to get high, or manipulate. That's just the game of getting high. Everybody knows this. Some people do not venture into conning, defrauding, and thievery than others do.
Oh, you're right.
That's where the problems are going to come in. Is the crossing over to do wrong to get the drugs. Now your mind starts to just go way outside of the universe, and you're thinking about all kind of crazy stuff once you're a full-blown addict. And
Very
that
true.
can lead to crossing over to murder or kidnapping. See where I'm going?
But see, that goes back to the inability to adapt to change and what you were just talking about, because you got young brains, you know, that started out at 14, 15, 16, and they're stuck at that level. But now you're chronologically old and you're grown and you want to mix the I'm a child and I'm an adult together. The psychology of it.
Well,
Not that it's an excuse on any level, because if you know you're doing wrong, and I knew I was doing wrong, my parents instilled morals in me at a very young age, and yeah, nothing stuck with me, you know. I mean, I tried a lot, but nothing stuck. I was like, none of this is worth all this. This is not where my life needs to be, and it was explained to me how how that these drugs affect your brain, and then you go to that level and now you are addicted. You're not going to get better until you get clean.
Yeah. Well, my problem with the drugs is that it leads to other things, and in the end, it's your choice.
And I've said that from Jump Street.
A lot of people don't do what other drug addicts do. Yeah, one drug addict that's not going to go out here and steal and rob. You don't.
That's right.
And the other person who's an addict, they will go rob, steal, then kidnap. See where I'm going? Each person will do what he or she chooses to do. So when you compare the two, you could say, well, it can't be one or this, because Paul didn't go over here and kill somebody or kidnap somebody to go get some damn drugs. What made Susie go do it?
It goes back to this from Jump Street, and I've said it. Drugs are a choice before they are a problem. And I don't care what problem you're talking about, whether it be a mental addiction, a physical addiction, problem with you and your job, your wife, your family, the law, whatever. It was your choice before it became a problem.
Yes, and that's it. But a lot of people will not own that. They chose to go out here and start getting high. They chose to sample the pills, the drugs from Susie, Dick, Paul, and then now they want to blame everybody because they're now an addict. But in the end, that is your choice. You didn't have to use, because you don't become just an addict overnight. You didn't just pop a pill and now you're a pill head. Doesn't work like that. You had to continue to consume the pills,
or whatever.
Crack, the cocaine. You had to start. Everything has a start. So people don't want to assume a responsibility for liking the drug. Is you liking the drug is what got you to become an addict in the first place. You like the way it made you feel. And as my daddy used to say, the addict is trying to get the high they first got, but you can't ever get it back. So you're chasing a high that no longer exists.
Well, and I'll tell you the psychology behind that is because it's the euphoric of doing the drug and being the adrenaline rush of getting away with it, because you knew when you started doing it, it was wrong.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people take drugs as it being passed along. A lot of people are addicts because somebody offered it to them. And really, I think most people are addicts because it was offered. Because when you think about it, nobody wakes up today and say, I think I'm going to try cocaine today.
Well, that's how the dealers get people hooked.
Huh?
That's how the dealers get people hooked.
But I'm just saying, people pass drugs to people. A lot of people are addicts because somebody gave it to them. Somebody offered it to them, rather. Hey, try this. Hey, try this. Next thing you know, they're an addict.
Yeah, but see, and like I said, I've tried a lot of them, but I had lines that, no, I don't want that. No, I'm not even going to try it.
But what I'm saying is, sweetheart, that's your story.
Right.
I'm saying
my reality.
Most people get high. Most people started getting high because somebody passed it to them. Because I'm saying you just don't wake up and say, today I'm going to go find me a heroin dealer. I can say when I got up this morning, that's not what was on my mind.
No.
True.
That's what I'm saying. You just don't wake up and just say, I think I want to try crack today.
No.
I want to go try meth today. What would make you wake up and say, I got to go find a meth dealer? You've never had meth. That's what I'm saying. Is that a lot of people started because somebody offered it to them. Then they started to like the drug. And you see where I'm going? and then
Yeah.
boom, now they're an addict. But what I'm saying is, what one person does while on drugs, another one does not do, such as felonious behavior. Some people will support their habit, and then another person will cross over to felonious crimes. Why does one stay in the realm of supporting his or her habit versus the person that goes all the way downhill, quits their job, stop taking care of their kids, bow out of their marriage, and go full-fledged into the drug and start robbing people, stealing, kidnap, murder? See where I'm going? The crossover is what's interesting to me.
Yeah.
I think it's a lack of balance, of being able to keep that balance. Because at some point they're functional, right? After a while, it's overwhelming.
Well, yes, peer pressure. The people get into drugs for various reasons. Coping mechanisms. One thing we've learned about drugs is that it's the first thing people go to when they're having a bad day, especially if they've already been an addict before, because they say you're still an addict. So let's just say something tragic happens. You've used drugs before. Maybe it was just recreational. First thing you think of, well, I'll go get the bottle. I'll go get that heroin. I'll go get that meth. Now you're back in the abyss. You're back in the abyss. And it's a terrible place to be. But as they say, we do have people who have abused children who are not addicts. So it's all the thought process.
So is it nurture or nature?
There are just people who are just cruel, and drugs don't play any part into them abusing kids or alcohol. They're just nasty. They're just nasty. Because we know that using drugs can cause a lot of problems, which would be not taking care of yourself, not taking care of your hygiene. You have children. You're not feeding your children. You're not clothing your children. You're keeping a nasty house because the drug is more important. But then, as someone said about Casey Anthony, I don't know if it's true or not if she used drugs or not. The point is, that's that one person, they ain't got no drugs. They don't use drugs. They're just nasty. They don't give a you know what. They don't care about beating their kid. They don't care about torturing their kid. They don't care about leaving their kid with anybody. And then they don't care about killing their kid because they want their freedom.
Well, they only care about themselves, you know.
I was going to say,
and that's one of the main reasons that people kill their kids. A lot of reasons people kill their kids is for freedom.
Entitlement. Yeah.
They want out. They don't want the responsibility anymore. They don't want people to know they could not do right by the child. So they kill the child to get rid of the child. Various reasons people kill their kids. Some pop off, angry, kid crying, falling out. They lose control. See, that's why I said each person's situation is different. The reasons for murder, they're always different. Each child is murdered for a different reason. But a lot of people just don't want their kids, and they don't want people to know they couldn't hang. They couldn't carry the torch. So they rather kill the child versus just say, this isn't for me. I am going to hand the baton over to my mother, my cousin, DHS, whatever. They don't want people to know they failed. And I get that because some people will judge you harshly. Damn, you had a kid. You knew what it was going to be about. But no, you don't know what it's like until you're actually in the shoes. So that's not true. Right. But you're entitled to make a mistake, but you don't keep making a mistake. And that's another problem that's true. Evident in this case. You're having babies back to back, back to back. You knew what the game was like when you had one baby. It was hard. Why would you get knocked up 2 more times?
Yeah.
Different baby dad. That's the choice.
If you really want to put it in perspective, just one of them $30 a day things that she was paying that other lady to watch them children would have bought her 1 month's worth of birth control so it doesn't happen again.
She get it for free.
Say what now?
All right. The lady the babysitter, I don't remember her name, Macarta?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Diana. I remember her saying she was only getting $15 a day for the 2 boys, and she was babysitting the baby for free. Okay, if you put that in perspective, whether or not she could have gotten it for free, if she thought she had to pay for it, you know, a $75 once a year at her age, once a year doctor visit, and $30 a month for birth control script would have kept her from having to, you know what I'm saying? Like money wise, as opposed to raising another child.
No, I'm confused on what you're saying.
President
I don't know who
what
you're
I'm
talking
saying,
about. Are you talking
what
about Diana or are you talking about Leilani?
I'm talking about like Leilani, if you put it in perspective, one day of babysitting money that she was paying to Diana would have paid for a month's script of birth control.
But you don't got to pay for it because it's free.
President Obama set up a system where you could get tubables and the pills and that for free nationwide.
They have been free for years at the fucking health department. The health departments are still open and they offer the free birth control or depending on your income. So there is no excuse for her to keep having children back to back. Now a whole baby is missing. She doesn't care about birth control. She doesn't care about herself. She doesn't care about the kids because she has a problem. So birth control ain't on her mind. She's like a lot of young women. She just likes to screw. Just like a lot of young men. They like to screw and then cry later. Oh, I'm pregnant. Oh, I got her pregnant. Well, that's your choice.
Should have wore rubber. You know?
I haven't heard that word rubber.
Prophylactic.
Dear God. Should have worn rubber.
No glove, no love.
He didn't wanna. The other ones didn't wanna either.
I already showed my grandson how to put a condom on a banana with a little extra space, and we all need to teach. And let me tell you, he's still a virgin, but he knows. Okay,
something.
And that's what you do.
Are you from Louisiana?
Oh yeah, born and raised.
Okay, because you got a thick accent.
So yeah, I'm from Louisiana. Yeah,
but that's funny. But a lot of young people and some older ones too, they don't care. And you are entitled to do what you want with your body. That is your body. But when it comes to reproductive, if you know that you don't want to be a mother, you've been a mother and it didn't work for you, then you would say to yourself, logically speaking, I'm going to use birth control or have the guy wear a condom because I don't want any children.
And even quote, if every man that was coming in her life, because she's had a few recently, apparently, oh, I love you, I love you, I love you. That love would have been the same even if you didn't have a kid from them. So that's not an excuse either. You know, some women think that way. Oh, let me give him his own child. He'll stay. Yeah. No.
Well,
no. You're attracting the wrong people.
Obvious. She does not have a great mindset, this young lady, this female. And we're now talking about a whole kid gone. So what I have to say is the obvious. As I've said with the other kids' cases, you now have to worry about the other children. What's the state of the other children? Because you can't always think that there's going to be that one that's abused and the other ones are not.
That's
it can go both ways. It could be one's being abused, two's being abused, or it could be they're all being abused. So let's ask that question. Right. Are all the children being abused by somebody in that household?
I'd probably say yes, because I know I was the youngest of 4 and we all got it. Okay. So most of the times it might not be as drastic as one of the other ones, but you're all getting abused.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
when I was young, they called it an ass woman, but I mean, if I was to really look back at it, it was abuse.
Because what you have to say to yourself, 2 boys outside playing, I'm assuming she said they both were dirty, if I'm not mistaken. Because I can't see one clean and one dirty. That wouldn't make any sense. So it's still abuse.
True.
It's still abuse.
You know, like my abuse, I was picked up by my hair and thrown across the room and stuff. There's ways to abuse children that doesn't show.
Oh, of course, we know that. We know that.
You know,
we know that with women. We know that with women, they would abuse them where they couldn't be seen, like on their back.
Yes.
Hit her on her back. You're gonna have a shirt on, so you're not gonna see that. So let's go here. If both boys are abused, what were you doing to the baby girl?
Exactly.
And if you don't feed those babies, why would I think you were feeding the infant?
Exactly.
Think about it. I'm dropping off my kids to the babysitter. I know to take her diapers and food. So what am I doing with the infant as well?
Not even breast milk.
So the
You could
infant
be
needs
pumping
milk
at night.
and formula. So that means you're not. So that means too, the baby she wasn't getting milk. The one that's 2 is probably on whole milk.
No nutrition.
3-year-old is on whole milk. So now we're talking about infant meal, baby formula plus whole milk for the 2 toddlers, plus diapers, pull-ups. You didn't
Well,
bring
there
them because
goes your
you
30
didn't have
bucks
them.
right there.
But listen, you didn't bring them because you ain't got them.
Yeah.
Think about that. You know to pack the bag before taking the baby to the daycare. You either do it the night before or the morning of. That's expensive diapers for back-to-back bingo card. I tell you to stay woke. You got to look at everything they're telling you. 2 boys, babies, and an infant. Do you know how expensive that is? That's diapers for 3 kids.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm an addict. How much money am I making an hour? How much money is the baby daddy making? Oops, I'm not supposed to be taken care of. I'm supposed to be Billy Joe. Bingo card. Stay woke.
So now the diapers and pull-ups for 3, isn't that like 60 a week itself?
Honey,
I don't know how much they are.
I don't either, but that's the point I'm trying to make to you. This shit is expensive now that you tally it up. 3 babies a week, 24 hours a day, till somebody can pull up their own underwear. That's a lot of damn money.
Well, think about it. They got baby formula under lock and key in most stores now because people steal it because it's over $30 a can.
Yeah, okay, because they had a shortage. They had a shortage. But what I'm trying to make you understand is the diapers alone
is going to be at least
it's going to be very expensive. So I can see why they were asking that girl for their money back, because they ain't getting out ahead. And if you factor in a drug problem, you're probably talking about 2 drug addicts. Stay woke now.
Oh, yeah.
Why would it just be 1 on drugs? No, you're 2 on drugs. So Billy Joe plays a major part in this because she's the sole provider. She's the one that's supposed to be dropping the kids off to Diana, not Leilani. She's the one that's supposed to be buying clothes, shoes, formula, milk, whatever. Because if her income is greater, she wouldn't be qualified to get food stamps, WIC. See where I'm going?
Yeah.
All this will be out of pocket, straight cash. This story is deeper than what's being revealed. Billy Joe is more culpable than Leilani. Because what you're looking at is, oh, she's the drug addict. She's this. Her mom's wanting her out the house. She's stealing stuff. But Billy Joe is the provider of the children. And she's making it seem like it's all the daughter's fault that she's an addict. She's this. She's not taking care of her kids. But in the end, you have custody of the children. And she didn't have no business living in your fucking house with the boyfriend.
Bingo.
So you're more guilty than Leilani.
Yeah, I agree with that because, you know, she made it easy for her, you know?
Yeah.
Because if that would have been my kid at baby number 2, I would have been like, what the F are you doing? Wake up, you know?
Yeah.
You don't let her keep popping kids out. You take it to the damn doctor.
This is where Billy Joe made her mistake, is by letting her stay in her house. She should have took responsibility of the children, their needs. She should have made sure they had adequate care, clothing, diapers, all of that. I do believe Billy Joel is just as guilty and liable because, 1, she is the sole provider of the children. She knew that the children didn't have what they needed because Diana said so in the Facebook Live that she's had to call her and she was sending her money through, I think, Cash App or whatever, to buy clothes for the kids. That shows you right there, you have knowledge that your children don't have what they need and you're the grandmother. Why would you be sending money to a fucking babysitter to buy clothes for a child that's not hers?
Exactly.
This is why I tell people to listen to the information, because this is all going to be mind-blowing if indeed this is a criminal investigation. Diana will be the star witness.
She will be.
She's going to be in a hot seat and the star witness, because she's going to verify everything through text if indeed she kept them. I'm not like her. I don't keep text messages. But see, when you're dealing with these type of fools, probably best that you do.
Yeah, but even if you don't keep the text, they can always get it all from the cloud.
Oh, I know that. But I'm just saying, the fact that she kept them, I think is interesting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to keep all those texts in my phone.
I know. I'm like you. I get the junk out. I'm the same way.
Mandy says, how did she get custody of them with her past track record? I don't know. Yes, Tracy. We don't really know what was going on in that house. We don't know if Billy Joe is using drugs, if Granddaddy's using drugs, what type of relationships they all have with each other. Did they all get along? We know they couldn't have gotten along because she's taking the girl to court to get her put out the house, her and the boyfriend. So they're probably arguing every day. They're trashing her house, she says. So what fool is going to continue to let somebody stay in her house and trash her house?
Why the hell would she leave the kid there?
See, that's what I'm saying. This is all bullshit. This whole case
it don't make
nonsense.
Sense.
Billy Joel is the problem.
She's
more the problem because that girl don't got custody of her kids. She could be over here living her life with that boyfriend in Timbuktu.
That's right.
Exactly.
The only bad part is she has another infant. And I think the state needs to start telling you off the bat, you go get pregnant after you've lost custody of a child or children, don't come to us and ask for nothing. We ain't giving you nothing.
That, and also they need to straight up tie their tubes after 3 or 2 when they're drug addicts. Do something.
Well, that will probably be seen barbaric, but it's stopping the problem from exacerbating.
Well, and I'm going to tell you what else I think. And a lot of people probably are not going to like but this is how I feel. Anybody who's raped, molested, or murdered needs to be killed in our prisons, period.
Wow.
And my last husband did 10 years for dealing acid. He got caught when he was young, changed his life, blah, blah, blah. But he was like, well, where is mercy? Where is mercy? I'm going to tell you what, even if we're wrong judging you, even though this is saying you murdered and you didn't, make it right with God. That's how I feel. Because you know what? If they wouldn't have these kidnappers and all being set back on the street, they wouldn't have other people getting murdered most of the time.
Yeah.
You know? America needs to wake up.
Well, we know that with sadists, they do not change. You probably don't have 1% of a sadist that actually turned his or her life around as a rapist, child molester, serial killer. Doctors have said it's just qualities, yes, that can't be fixed. I agree. So therefore, first time out the gate, there's adamant proof that somebody raped a human being or a child. They should automatically get life. Because stats have shown that they will be repeat offenders. So why would you let them out? That's why we have this case with Eliza Fletcher. Cleotha committed a crime as a child, kidnapping a man. He gets out. He exacts the crime with one girl. Took him a year to get that DNA on the database, get the results back. Then he goes and commits this crime a year later, kidnapping and raping Eliza Fletcher.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't help him. It wouldn't have mattered if he had done the entire 24 years. It would have been another woman, if not Eliza Fletcher.
And it didn't matter what woman it is either.
It doesn't matter.
That's right. No color, nothing. It doesn't matter. They're going to get whoever they can get. It's an opportunity.
This issue here with these children can be eerily the same. The grandmother doesn't have any business with grandchildren. Because she had her children taken away from her. She's now taking in her grandchildren, and now a whole body is missing. So that means she didn't need the children. She allowed her daughter and boyfriend to stay in the house with them showing out, still getting in trouble. A whole child is missing. The daughter doesn't need children. A whole child is missing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Nobody in that house needed a child.
No, I agree.
Not Billy Joe and not Leilani. Not the boyfriend, not the granddaddy, not nobody. Because we have to now worry about the welfare of the 2 remaining children. And there's no way we're going to logically think they're in a better situation with all this fussing and fighting and abuse and neglect of diapers, Pampers, formula. They're all jacked up. And the kids need to be in the state's care or given to another relative that can provide for the kid.
I agree completely.
Yeah, this is very disgusting. Because Billy Joel, that woman, there's just no words for her. She's worse. She's probably worse than the damn daughter.
And where do you think the daughter learned it?
I'll say what, Cheryl?
She must be worse than the daughter, considering she brought the little baby back. Would have never gave that baby to that woman, ever. You know what I mean? So apparently she didn't have her life right. The grandma.
I don't know what you said. She gave what? But she gave what daughter back?
Billy Joe giving the baby. That's the mama, right? Billy Joe or the grandma?
Billy Joe is the grandmother.
Okay, I'm talking about Billy Joe. I would have never handed that kid back to the other one. Me being Billy Joe would have never gave that baby to my daughter. So
you mean
Billy
not let her
Joe
live in the house? You mean
really?
Listen,
Billy Joe.
You mean not let her live in the house? I don't understand what you're saying.
I would have never let my little Quinton go to her. You know, I would have never. I wouldn't have let my baby be over there because basically that's your grandkid, that's your baby. You know, the state wants you to help take the kid till she gets a life.
I don't know.
Right.
I don't understand what you're saying. Leilani lives in the house with the Billy Joe.
The grandma lives in that house?
God,
they all live in the grandmother's house.
No, I know they live in the grandmother's house, but the grandma doesn't live there, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You've been on this live almost 3 hours and you missed that. Oh my God.
They all live in the same house together. Why do you think grandma's trying to get her evicted?
I thought the grandma was out with the guy.
No, that's why we're raising hell. That's why it was so hard when you were talking. You didn't even understand what the hell I was going off about. They all live in the same house, Cheryl.
I didn't know that part. I misunderstood that even with the clip I saw last night.
Cheryl, they all live in the same house. She has filed paperwork to evict her and the boyfriend. She's now allegedly does a welding job 3 weeks away from the house, from what somebody said. I don't know if that's true or not. So now you see the neglect starts with Billy Joe, not Leilani, because Leilani doesn't have any custodial rights.
Well, I don't see why they gave Billy Joe any if they're all living in the same damn house.
So, honey, you have missed this entire live. Lord, have mercy, Jesus.
No, I didn't. I'm right here.
No, you missed it. Because that's why I was going off earlier on you about this story, because I was thinking maybe she don't really understand what's going on.
I didn't realize they were all in the same house. I knew it was Grandma's house, but
okay,
I thought
Donna says Grandma works out of state. Now,
that's what I thought. Grandma was gone.
Okay,
that's what I thought.
Okay, but now you understand this is jacked up because you're the sole custodian of the kids. So how could you be working out of state?
Exactly.
Bingo.
And oh my God, Zena says, what state? Don't you say Tennessee? Please don't say.
They're making fun of me.
Don't say Tennessee.
I misunderstood because I thought the grandma was going off with Quinton and the boyfriend. And
that's the whole case. Is grandma's got custody of them children, and Leilani is the one living there taking care of them while grandma's off doing whatever. But grandma is the custodian of record. She is the one responsible for at least the two boys, if not all three.
She should be the one living in Savannah, Georgia, raising those damn kids. That's
exactly. She should be the one there, not the daughter.
Yeah, the daughter shouldn't be in that house at all. Okay, I get it now. Hello.
Okay.
Well, I misunderstood off the news last night because I thought it was the grandma's house, and grandma was letting the daughter and the kids live there. And grandma was supposed to have Quinton somewhere else. That's and she let Quinton go back. That was my understanding. But now I realize they were all in the house.
No, because for her to say, I want her out of that house, how would you have custody of the kids and be wanting her out of your house? That wouldn't make no sense.
No. No.
And why would she be having? And if you got custody of the kids, why would Leilani be the go-to with dropping the kids off at Diana's house? That wouldn't make no sense.
And the other point is this: I don't understand the social worker that gave the kid to the grandma, knowing that she's in the house. What the flip?
But she didn't know because she didn't tell her. I bet you all along that girl lived on her own at some point, lost custody, moved back in with her mother, and was in that house that whole time while the mother was fighting for custody of the kids, and let the girl stay in the house with the same kids she was abusing and neglecting.
She must be scared of that daughter.
No,
I don't know.
she's enabling.
Billy Joe looks kind of tough to me for a lady.
Yeah, but she's still older. I'm a rough tough one, okay? But I'm older now. Okay? She's older.
Well,
you know,
she went to go bust up in Diana's house, so ain't nothing wrong with Billy Joe.
Right. I was going to say, she didn't have a problem picking a fight with them.
I think Billy Joe will fight you if she had to. I do believe that.
Of course, anybody will. You got to defend yourself. But
she wasn't being defensive when she walked up in that lady's house.
Yeah, she wasn't. She doesn't strike me as a pussycat.
You can tell that the babysitter's timid though. She knew that.
It wouldn't matter. That lady had no business walking up in that house. Period.
Well, I agree with that. You know?
So you can't say that, oh, she's timid and she's afraid of her daughter because she's older. If she had no problem walking up in that other lady's house,
and then she was not. She said, I used curse words at her. She was in my face. She even tried to take the phone from my daughter. So that shows you Billy Joe don't have no problem with touching a child.
That's not defense. That's offense.
It shows Billy Joe don't have any couth either. Hello.
No, she don't. And that's why I'm saying this may go deeper than what we are expecting.
Yeah, it's way deeper because I didn't even know they lived in the same damn freaking house. Hello.
Yes. Leilani is a problem, boyfriend problem, but who's to say Billy Joe is possibly the ringleader of everything? She learned all her jacked up ways from Billy Joe. Billy Joe ain't keeping no kids. She ain't worried about no kids. There's some bullshit going on with them, man.
And how did she even get custody of them kids when she had her own children taken away back in the day? It don't make sense.
I agree with that too.
Because trust and believe, they do background checks where I live. At least they do background checks, and if you've had any kids removed, they will not let you take one.
Like I told you, I know somebody who's a convicted felon, and he got rights to his daughter when the mother got the girl taken away from her. He has custody of his own child, and he's a convicted felon, and it's for drugs. So it's an old charge, but nonetheless, he has rights to the child. He gets government assistance for the child, so we can't use that.
Right, but he wasn't. Right. He was never convicted of abusing or neglecting a child.
Yeah, but was Billy Joe ever accused?
Yeah, but he's still a felon.
Billy Joe, yes, she was. She had her own kids taken away. They have to convict you before they can take your kids away.
Well, look, I don't live down in Georgia. Georgia's a strict state, but obviously she's got custody. That's the whole point of this story. No matter what you think, it doesn't matter. Somebody still gave her custody of them damn kids, criminal past or not. She got it.
But that's another fail.
Because we don't know if she got those charges at 22, 25. You see what I'm saying? Billy Joe is probably in her early 50s.
For the system.
So I don't know.
That's another fail for the CPS system in that, though, to give that the children over to her, you know?
Oh, Lord.
I think they're getting desperate because there's so many overdoses and there's so many kids in the foster home. And like you said, Queen, in the offices and all, you know?
Yeah.
Just a mess.
Well, I'm just going to say out of here because I'm almost 3 hours in. This case is once again another case of generational curses, drug abuse, physical abuse, enabling grown children, other people enabling people's problems and abuse. And now we have a whole child missing. Because in the end, no matter how you weigh the story, no matter what team you want to be on and who you want to agree with, a whole baby is gone and possibly not alive. And what will be jacked up is if we find out that the child is indeed deceased, then one is going to have to use deduction that the child either was killed maliciously, willful intent, or something happened to him accidental, and it's a cover up and abuse of a corpse. Either way, it's heinous because if it's an accident, you didn't call 911 to get the child help. And if you saw that he was dead, you still were supposed to call 911.
I just wanted to say one thing, and I also wanted to tell you thank you for having me up. But I wanted to say, just because we didn't see on any news footage or anything that they went digging in the dump, doesn't mean that the police didn't go looking in the dump.
Well, they don't
they're
tell you
covering all
everything
the
anyway.
areas. They're going to cover.
They don't tell us everything anyway. So
that's right. That's right. So
quiet. That's why they won't reveal what they found in the house when they searched in the house, because you have to
don't get twisted.
If indeed these people stay gone, Billy Joe and the husband welding together, however it was, tag team, you don't even know if there was food in the house. You don't know how that bedrooms were kept, if they had clean linen. See, these are the things that matter.
Yeah, exactly.
These are the things that tells the story of how the people were living in the house. Somebody's gone for 3 weeks, then that just leaves Leilani and the boyfriend to provide at least food in the house and toiletries, because this woman's gone unless she's stacking up the house before she goes on her job.
Yeah.
So we don't even know what was found in the house. That's possibly why they're not releasing the footage. It may be worse than we think.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. Thank you for having me up, girl.
You're welcome. All right. Thanks again. All right, honey.
Have a good one.
Take care of yourself.
Okay,
enjoy the rest of your week.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
All right. Everybody's gone. This is a diabolical story. What are you confused about, Mandy? Jesse says news reporter said they were looking in trash and they have pictures. Okay, thank you, Miss Crib. I'll do my research when I get out of here. Because I said I didn't want to talk about this story because I just didn't want to do any more children's stories. But I just found it interesting when I started just reading these little things, and then this somebody had came up in the queue with the Babysitter's Facebook Live. I told myself, oh Lord, do I want to listen to this? So I'll listen anyway. It's bad to me. And this story mirrors Debbie Collier's story to me, because once again, it's a story about a wayward daughter being enabled. I do believe that's the reason why Debbie Collier is no longer alive, because she enabled her daughter. The daughter had hate for her, dismissed the mother as a human being. She did her mom in. I believe that. Could be wrong, but it's what I believe. This case to me is no different. This daughter's living in a house where the mother is allegedly supposed to be providing for the child, the grandmother. She's off away doing her own thing, leaving the person who got the child taken away from raising the child and not doing right by the child with a boyfriend, and got 3 children back to back. Neglect, abuse is there, sitting in your face, and nobody's saying anything. Billy Joe knows her daughter wasn't doing right, because one, she didn't have no business having her in that house with those kids. Number 1, Diana, keeping the kids, seeing abuse, should have called 911. Bottom line. Now, a whole child is missing, and everybody's skirting around like rats, trying to figure out where the child is. It's too late now. Because had one of you did the right thing, Quinton would be visible. That's common sense. I say this all the time. If you see something, say something. Be a part of the solution and not the problem. Mind the children. I say this every live. And yet, here's another story of a baby missing. Thank you, Mandy. Until you all realize that you have to say something, whether you say it in person, a letter, email, phone call, these stories will continue. I'm not asking you to be a Captain Save-A-Ho, a savior, superwoman, Superman. What I'm saying is do due diligence. Because you saying something could save the life of a child. And I get it. There could be possible retribution if indeed you give your government name or the people find out you're the one that told. I get all of that. That's the reason why we have a lot of crimes still, because people don't want to testify to seeing what happened, heard what happened. I understand. These people are evil. They will come and hurt you. Because I just watched a story last night where a guy killed a little girl, and he went and attempted to kill the person that he told what he did to the little girl. He caught her coming out one night and he slit her throat, but she lived. So I get it. But what you have to weigh is the obvious. If I say something, I could be ostracized if people think it's me, cause problems to myself. 2, I don't say anything, the child could be harmed and or killed. So in the end, it's up to you. What you can sleep with, what you can tolerate. Prayers for baby Quinton. Prayers for justice. The truth will be revealed. But I do believe the remaining children should be removed out of the care of that household. I do believe neither grandmother or mother or baby daddy should have access to the children. I don't know much about Quinton's father, his role, if he has rights to the child. When I get that information, I'll bring it to you. Feel free to go to my community page to take the polls pertaining to this case. I'd like to hear your thoughts. You feel free to leave your comment below the poll. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $ Big Angie 129 Cash App. You've been listening to Everyday Shenanigans. Thank you for my guests. Thank you for the chat. Feel free to come back. If I get more information, I may go live later if I've got the strength. But this is, once again, another bad story about a baby, about a kid. And he didn't ask to be here. And he didn't choose Leilani as his mother. He didn't choose that other guy as a daddy. He didn't choose to be in the house with his boyfriend, the grandmother, the grandfather. He's just a kid. He didn't deserve this. And if indeed the other children were neglected, abused, they didn't deserve that either. And you cannot continue to aid people who don't speak up. Because whenever you enable people, you're agreeing that the abuse is okay. And abuse is never okay. Thank you for joining me this Everyday Shenanigans. Like, share, subscribe.